with his grandchildren.
Brett, it just dawned on me the other day that while Memphis is celebrating its bicentennial, the Rendezvous has been here well over one-third of Memphis's existence. Someone asked me if we remember the day the Rendezvous started, and I tell them no, because if we thought it was going to last this long, we'd have kept much better records. But we're not a place to rest on our laurels or reputation. We're always trying to add new things to make our customers' experience more enjoyable. Friday lunches have always been special because we give away our red beans and rice. But we are now adding a sausage sandwich. It's the same sausage we serve on our cheese and sausage plate, but it will be served lengthwise on the bun with beans and slaw on the side. We've also partnered with a company called Devillet out of Dyersburg to introduce a new sweet glazed mustard with Rendezvous seasoning in it. It'll really go great with a sandwich. I still recommend adding slaw. My grandfather had a hot dog stand on Beale Street in 1916, and we've come full circle using his slaw on our hot dogs. Hope to see you this Friday at the Rendezvous.
In the alley in downtown Memphis.
Campbell Clinic now offers daytime walk-in care, and you don't need an appointment. If you've got any kind of urgent break, sprain, strain, you can walk into any of their 5 convenient locations Monday through Friday from 8 until 4. There's no long wait you have to put up with the ER, and those doctors are really good, but they're not orthopedists. They're not world-renowned orthopedists who have come up with different procedures and written the manuals for them that are used everywhere in the world, and I'm not kidding you. And you can now see those doctors who treat the Tigers, the Grizzlies, the Redbirds. You can see them today without an appointment. And I'm talking Collierville, Germantown, South Haven, downtown at the Med Center, or even the Campbell Clinic Spine Center in Cordova. Now, if you've got something pressing, you got to go to work, and you can bear the pain until the evening, there's Campbell Clinic After Hours. That's Monday through Thursday from 5 to 8 in Germantown, South Haven, even Saturday morning in Germantown. If you're injured, don't wait. Visit Campbell Clinic Walk-In Care or Campbell Clinic After Hours.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, and Brett Stats Norsworthy.
Welcome in Thursday edition of the show. It is bleak. It is raining hard outside. It is symbolic of the way last night was. So here we are, beginning of the game in Tulsa. Memphis is a 3.5-point favorite. They're playing on the road against a team that actually, even though they were picked 10th in the conference, is playing really well. They got a share of first place with Houston. And Memphis knows about this zone, and that's what Frank Haith is famous for. Look, he was in Miami, he was in Missouri, and then he got this job after things didn't quite work out that well in either of those places, and he's done a good job there. But that same principles he always had are holding true with this matchup sort of zone that changes, and it's tough to figure out. And Memphis is doing a heck of a job in the beginning of the game. They are passing the ball, and they are shredding that zone, and they are getting layups for Precious Achiuwa. And the game is 9-6. And the Tigers are whipping the ball around, and there's Tyler Harris. He is wide open in the corner on the right side. He lets it fly. And that ball looks like it's going down, and it gets halfway and rims out. And that is the end of the night, ladies and gentlemen, because then the Tulsa Golden Hurricane go on an 8-0 run to build an 11-point lead, and Memphis is out of this game. There's not an answer. They're down by 20 at the half. I'm thinking, I don't know if they're going to overcome this. The way it's going, it doesn't look good, but I know they're going to cut it under double digits in the second half to try to make it interesting, and then we'll see what happens. And instead, it looks more like 3 years ago in Dallas, Texas, when the Lawsons decided to quit on Tubby Smith, and they scored 42 points in that game, and I think lost by 38. And this one was an absolute nightmare. Oy. So this dream season has now turned into a nightmare, and it will be hard to overcome, and there's just no denying it. I could try, as their announcer, to put as good a spin, a real flowery bouquet to it, but I can't. Last night when they fell behind, the fight that we saw earlier at Tennessee, the fight that we saw at UAB, the fight that we saw against South Florida just a little while ago, that fight wasn't there. That fight was a team, and I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but for the last few days, because Memphis had the game against Cincinnati, one of their more successful recent outings, they went into what they call Camp Hardaway. Camp Hardaway is 2-a-days. John Calipari used to do this all the time. They called it Camp Cal. So now we've changed it. It's Camp Hardaway, 2-a-days. And I don't know if this is the case, but, this team of really young guys, they've been getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning since June. And this season is now here. We're in the middle of January, and now they're 2 practices on top of just the one, not playing a game. And I don't know if mentally that fatigued them or whatever it was. This was not the team that we have seen. This was a team that gave up, and there's just no way around it, Stats.
Dave, you were accurate in that. And last night I was texting with Craig Gaston, and he said since he's been in this market, and that's since 95 or so, it was the rock bottom. I've been watching Tiger basketball since Larry Finch's junior year, Don Holcomb's senior year. That was 71, 72. It's the worst I've ever seen. And I'm not big on soup of the day, latest, greatest, or latest, worst. And it's why, a few years ago when people were saying in those Tubby Smith teams, worst Tiger basketball teams ever. No, they weren't. They weren't very good. They were not the worst ever. There were Moaba teams. There were Wayne Yates teams. First couple Coach Kirk's first 1 or 2 teams weren't anything real sporty.
Those 2 teams were right at 500. They were 1 game under 500.
Right. But last night, rock bottom. It was awful to watch.
Well, in all respect to you, because I think of you as a city historian, I really do, and your memory for detail is amazing. And in respect to what Greg says, it wasn't much lower than it was in Dallas when those 2 guys quit. And by the way,
that's true.
They went from that 38-point loss to a 30-point loss in the first game of the tournament. That was the team that quit on the
double
coach.
down. Quit.
So I don't buy this is the lowest moment
40
in the program, but
40's 40.
There's no way
I
around.
didn't say it's the lowest moment in the program. Last night was the worst loss.
Worst loss of the Penny era.
Worst loss I've seen since 1971.
Really? Worse than the one in
But there's been lower, perpetual moments, and there's been a lot of good moments, and this year can still have some good ones. But, if we were coming here today and we were hashing it out about a 87-70 loss, you get thumped 17. That's handled pretty good on the road. But doubled up, 80-40. That very score really stands out, doesn't it?
It does. Well, first of all, it's the biggest margin in the history of Tulsa of beating a ranked team. 40 points. By far.
By Frank Hayes.
The other one was 26 points, I believe, against LSU in the 1950s when they beat a team by that margin when they were ranked. The students, and it was the most tepid storming of the court I ever saw. It was like, what's that
Can
game?
you call it storming?
You put one step in, you take one step out.
Hokey pokey?
Yeah, you take one step
They
in.
got a hokey pokey.
Shake it all about. They were, should we do it? Should we not?
I was listening.
Oh, what the heck? We'll do it.
I was listening to you. They weren't coming over the top of the desk, were
No,
they?
they were not. It was the safest storming of the court I've ever seen.
It was a little bit like Junior Cotillion Dance Line, wasn't it?
It was. It was sort of odd, but you know what I said last night? I walked over and I just wrote one little note to Bruce Howard, who we had on the day that you were gone, and Bruce is their pretty long-time voice of the Golden Hurricane, and I just wrote 2 words down. Rainey's Revenge. Rainey, if you don't remember, is the kicker that missed field goals against SMU and Memphis to set everything up.
All right. You take that, though, don't you? You take
it now.
If you'd had to made that trade, he's going to make this field goal, but you're going to win the basketball game, or he's going to make this field goal and you're only going to lose the basketball game by 3. But if he misses, you have to lose in basketball by 40. You would have taken that, wouldn't you, to go to the Cotton Bowl?
Sure, I would have.
Yeah,
No
without
question.
a doubt.
No doubt. But
that was not the options.
This was.
And no rematch with Tulsa, no home game against them. Play Tulsa again, it will be in the AAC tournament. I'm not that big on Frank Haith. I think he's a combination of Stan Heath and Josh Pastner as a coach, which I think that equals Frank Haith.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more proficient than that. I think his teams, one, they always play hard. They don't get the talent. It's hard to get, not making mistakes for Frank Haith. He's not my favorite coach either, but I do believe Frank gets the most out of the talent he gets, and it is tough because I really believe Tulsa is truly if you're an athlete there, you're a student athlete. Do you know the average ACT at Tulsa is 30?
Oh, it's remarkable academically.
It truly is, and most of those kids,
great engineering school.
They're very serious about it all, and so I was going over with Bruce Howard before the game began, and he was just marveling at all the talent and the 4-stars and 5-star guys that Memphis has, and he goes, the kid that they had that was pretty good. It was Jariah Horn, who's a 2-star guy, the son of Gerald, who was a Tiger, right? He's the guy that killed you.
Teammate of Coach Hardaway.
Kind of the guy that killed the U of M. But Brandon Rochelle last night, who originally signed with LSU, is a 4-star guy. And Bruce was saying Shea Seals, remember him?
Oh yeah, remember him well.
So now he's on Frank's staff.
He went to a Sweet 16 with Tubby.
He was the first 4-star guy they got because and Bruce wasn't even sure if he was a 4-star because it might have been before we had all these rating services. Okay, and he goes, what was the kid? Jerome Jordan? Is it Jerome Jordan that plays in the NBA? Played in the NBA. He wasn't a 4-star. So this guy, Brandon Rochelle, who originally signed at LSU, didn't work out there. He went to Pearl River, and then he came to Tulsa. He's the first 4-star guy by standards they've had.
Yeah.
So I got to give him. He's won 108 games there now in 6 years. He does the best that he can, and that defense is tricky. I mean, people going into the game last night, he only helped it. They were shooting 24% from 3.
I think Bobby Bingo Smith went to Tulsa from Memphis.
He did.
Okay. And we mentioned,
but that's way before there were services.
Way back. All right, on the rating services, I'm hearing this now from some. Well, the rating services had it wrong on some of these players for the Tigers. Okay, well, maybe they did, but isn't it the staff's obligation and responsibility for them to analyze and have their own ratings?
Well, sometimes kids can be late bloomers, or they just have intangibles that make them that way. And then the games come and the heart's not there or whatever it may be. And so the first guy that comes to mind, and this is obvious, everybody's thinking this, so I'm not trying to take a swipe at him, but Boogie Ellis. Boogie Ellis was a 5-star guy. Now, look, if you think the Tiger coaches didn't do due diligence in figuring out how good Boogie Ellis is, then so did Mike Krzyzewski, because that's where he was going, and then he got out of his letter of intent, and he came here.
Yeah, that's right. And Duke didn't pass on him. He passed on Duke.
He agreed to go to Duke.
That's right.
They took him. Then they let him out. Here's the deal. And I got to give Eli Savoy credit for this because I looked at all these conference numbers yesterday and I didn't even see this. But Precious Achua in conference games.
No, Boogie Ellis.
Boogie Ellis. Thank you. I'm sorry. Boogie Ellis is 0 for 17 in conference play. He is 0 for 11 from three-point range. He is 3 of 6 from the line. Boogie Ellis now in conference games, and Memphis has played 5 of those, has 3 points, all from the line. This is a 5-star guy.
The ball's gone through the net 3 times and all from the charity stripe in conference play.
And
that's
17 have missed.
That's staggering. Staggering.
Doesn't have a bucket in conference play.
It is. It's hard to imagine. I could have imagined. I didn't think they would lose last night. Didn't think it preseason. Didn't think it.
I didn't think they'd lose
24 hours ago. Didn't think it 20 hours ago when the game started.
Well, I thought Memphis would have a tussle on their hands. I mean,
yeah.
They were only 3.5-point favorites, right?
And now, Josh Pastner, Tubby Smith, Coach Hardaway, none of those guys have won at Tulsa. It used to be advantage Tigers anywhere, but now Tulsa has the advantage. But I never imagined
in the American Athletic Conference.
No fight.
In the AAC, Memphis which now is 10-10 over time in Tulsa. Over the history of the series, they are now 10-10 when played in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have not won a game in the 6 years that they've been in the American. They have failed every time at the Reynolds Center.
Preseason, I couldn't imagine 4 losses, but preseason, that was factoring in having James Wise.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of hope on that when we do top and not top.
This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity January, February sales event. Great offers on all 2020 models and always special lease options at Lexus of Memphis. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? You will. And Lexus of Memphis will make sure you're in one of their beautiful cars. Driving luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the high standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design that makes for the luxury driving experience. 362-8833, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, that is clearly the Hoops City debacle. You know, we're going to have Elliot Perry on in a little bit. We go inside Hoop City. Maybe it should be inside Pity City. If you look at last night, the two teams that we were just talking about, how for the first time in the city's history, both programs are really good. Both teams last night lost by a combined 64 points.
Yikes.
The Celtics had a 23-0 run on the Grizz in the second quarter. And this for the U of M, the worst loss since SMU 3 years ago when the team quit on Tubby. So now Memphis is sitting 6th place in the American. TeamRankings.com gives the Tigers a 61.7 chance to make the NCAA tournament. Only a 42.5% chance to make it as an at-large. The one good thing, Ken Pom predicts the AAC winner will have 5 losses in conference. That's how bunched they may end up being.
Go Ken Pom.
So you're still in it, according to Ken Pom.
Go Ken Pom. My top story is right in line with that. 64. That's a big number for the Grizzlies and the Tigers. 40 by the Tigers. A paltry 24 by the Grizzlies on the parquet. And it really threw cold water on the playoff push by the Grizzlies. And that 40-point loss in Tulsa to Frank Haith, it officially ends it. It was going to end. I thought it would go much past. I even thought it might be one of those in an 8-10 year run that it never ended. That's almost impossible. Honeymoon's over. And now the real coaching grind begins for Coach Hardaway. Just get to the tournament, end that drought, and that can rekindle some honeymoon feelings. But for now, and I think for good, it ends. Honeymoon's over.
SMU seems like such a big game. And it's interesting because I hadn't thought of it in those terms, that the honeymoon may be over. How long do you think the honeymoon lasted for Larry Finch? Because it was longer than a year and a half.
Well, in those trying times, too, that he took over in. Remember, Penny Hardaway did take over from a coach that had 2 winning seasons. And when Coach Larry Finch took over, everybody was so anxious to have him here, but he got off. He got off to this start.
He took over a program that was very good,
very scandal marred.
But it was scandal marred, and then of course he lost 2 great players. Still made the finals. Shouldn't have played.
Won
honestly.
the finals.
Shouldn't. All right, but my point is, shouldn't have played in the Missouri Valley Conference Finals that year, or the Metro years.
Larry started 2-0 with wins over Cleveland State and the win over Michigan at the Coliseum. Remember that atmosphere? I mean, that was something. And then 3 straight losses to Western Kentucky, Temple, and UNLV. I'm looking at the Tigers media guide for reference. I don't remember all this, but so he was 2-3, and then got rolling. the honeymoon for Larry Finch, I think, ended on the day that Tony Harris signed with Tennessee.
I think you're right. And how many years later is that?
Oh, about 10.
So you're talking about that's what you were envisioning with Penny. That's what brought that thought in my mind.
I'm with you. I thought it was going to be, well, one of those long ones. And now here's what it's down to, and it gets down to this for every coach everywhere, alma mater or not. He's got to sign players. He's got to win. He's got to get talent, and he's got to win.
Yeah. You know, the signing of players is one of the major ingredients in any sport.
Almost everything.
Which is hope. But then always hope has to turn into results. And it sure looked like it might be. And this team really battling without Wiseman had done what winning in Tennessee, beating NC State and Brooklyn. Those all look like, wow, this guy can really do it. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this is a major. It's like a sinkhole right in the middle of the road that you can't get past. And I wish I could tell you what the heck has happened, but we could have seen this coming. When you struggle against a USF team, you struggled against UAB,
Dave,
Tulane,
that was probably the first sign. And you're right. Eventually, rubber hits the road, and it's good to have the buzz and the aplomb around town, but a program cannot exist on smoke and drip alone.
Not top story of the day.
This story coming out now, apparently reported concussions rose slightly in the NFL this past year from 214 in 2018 to 224 this year. So that's a little disturbing with all the things they have done, but well below the 3-year average from 2015 to 17, where it was 226. And I want to say it was like 260 in 2017.
Don't you think we're reporting more now? The calling of a concussion
I do.
is bigger than we used to call one?
And so I think these new rules are working, which really are two things.
With the independent doctors.
No lowering of the head and the new helmets, which, remember, all the to-do was it Antonio Brown that was all upset about he didn't have his helmet, and this was all to benefit him. I think these new helmets are working that way as well. It's not quite as good a news as you would have liked, but at least I think there is definitely some improvement in trying to make it safer.
My not top story of the day, penalties handed out in the KUK State fracas, and really nothing for the players leaving the bench except for a reprimand.
I know.
What is that? Don't do that again? So what does it tell the players that left the bench? Do it in mass, and you can't suspend all of you. You do it in ones and twos, you're going to get suspended.
You're going to be out for 2 games. I'm really surprised.
Kansas gets away with it again.
I thought D'Souza would have gotten 10 games. He ended up getting 12, which basically means he plays 1 game at the regular season to get ready for conference tournament and tournaments. That kind of surprised me.
Now, you know what you're really missing out in him, though. What he really contributes to the team. He averages a double 2. He averages 2 points and 2 rebounds. He's not that good.
No. But I don't understand how everybody who left the bench, because if you'll remember the explanation that was given by Bill Self when asked what the referees told him at the end of the game, he said there was a technical on D'Souza. The 4 players that were on the court were okay. Everybody else was in trouble for leaving the bench. And there was no repercussions
a reprimand,
to anybody.
Dave.
A reprimand. Wow. That is pretty selective stuff there.
Isn't it?
Whether that's NCAA or conference or Kansas, whichever way.
They always get away with
Please look in the mirror, guys.
Astros and the Red Sox got away with it, didn't they? Rob Manfred now adamant that he's not going to – I mean, you can't even mention the strip word to him. He almost flies into a rage about, no, we're not stripping titles. They got away with it.
They did. And I go back to the question that was brought up that I think is so fair. If you're the Houston Astros and you like in the movie Damn Yankees, the devil's going to make a deal with you. Here's what you get. You're going to get a World Series title, your first.
Stop right there. I'll take it.
All you got to do is you're going to lose a general manager. You're going to lose a manager. You're going to lose
some reputation.
$5 million and four draft picks. And you'll be a little embarrassed, yeah. You got to take that. You got to take that in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Paid off, no question. Now, this Kansas thing leaving the bench, I do think they should have staggered. I mean, you're talking about there's 13 on scholarship, right? That's what they have in the men's game. So you get your 5 guys, and we know D'Souza and the other guy. So, and then you're basically talking about 8 guys that you could have staggered, 2 guys per at least a game. Mm-hmm. So they didn't follow the rules. It is certainly interesting for sure. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studio, and again, take advantage while they're trying to make room for incoming inventory. Save thousands on all the floor model spas, floor model play gyms. They're up to 50% off. Patio furniture, we're talking 10 to 50% off. This is a good deal. Don't wait until May to get that swimming pool. By now, and you get scheduled for spring installation, you get priority. Additional discounts on all swimming pools and grills and those great fire pits and outdoor kitchens. Please get to I-40 and Whidden Road and take advantage while you can of this great deal that Family Leisure has put together for you. We are back in a minute, and we will be busy today. We've got Mark Wise. He's coming up in a minute. I love listening to Mark's analysis. He's with ESPN. Inside Hoop City with Elliot Perry, Russell Copeland on the Super Bowl, Chris Raby on this baseball scandal and more. And then Blake Lovell, we'll chat with him from Clutch Points app and Blue Ribbon Magazine about the debacle last night, and then we got crunch time. So we're busy, as always, of this Thursday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Start your day with Sports 56 mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hertz, right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
And the coach calls timeout.
Wait a minute, you can't call timeout when you have leaks and Mother Nature is roaring through your home.
A technical foul from outer space may be in order.
Don't know about that, but we can measure your roof from outer space at BrianElderRoofing.com.
So if you need repairs or wondering if you think you may have a claim,
call me before you call your insurance company. And we've got 0% interest for 60 months with approved credit. We won't try to sell you a new roof if all you need is a repair.
My friend Chris Price, a longtime donor of the U of M. Call him, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
God bless America, Penny and Mike, and go Tigers.
And now back to the game.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Hi, folks. Good news from the Sunrise Sheriff. The Sunrise Chevy Ranch is 12 years old, so fire up the old jalopy and get on down here, because there's a saving shindig going on at sunrisememphis.com. Acres of new Chevys, huge discounts, 0% financing, and savings up to $13,000. Bad credit, it's okay. At Sunrise, we've got a financing plan for everybody. Need body work? Bring it to Sunrise. The Sunrise Sheriff has put an end to high prices, and the word's out. Chevys cost less at Sunrise. 385 in Houston, Levy, and Collierville. Specializing in cars and trucks under $10,000. Find new roads.
Frontier Western Store in Olive Branch is your one-stop shop for apparel and boots. Cold weather is here, and Frontier's selection of Carhartt winter gear is just what you need. Shop a wide assortment of jeans, dungarees, vests, bib overalls, and coats, including Carhartt's classic Sherpa and quilt line jackets. You'll find Carhartt quality at that Frontier low price. A new year brings plenty of new arrivals in Frontier's ladies' boutique department. Dresses, tunics, tops, printed and solid leggings, and so much more. Thousands of tops, t-shirts by Simply Southern, as well as on-trend shoes and fashion boots. And finally, there's the world-famous Frontier Boots Showroom. Thousands of name-brand boots for men, women, and children. Ariat, Corral, Rocky, Dan Post, and many more. From rugged work boots to classic dress boots, Frontier has your next favorite pair. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road, Olive Branch, or on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family-owned and operated since 1967.
With NFL Game Pass, you can see all the action all season long, all in one place.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Replay every game.
Let's go!
Every gutsy call.
Tonight is the night!
Every crazy catch.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
Every wild comeback.
My goodness, this dude's a beast.
It's all the football you can handle for just $49.99. Go to NFL.com/Game Pass to start your free trial today. Certain restrictions apply.
Let's get it, fellas. Come on.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Oh, it's a nasty day outside, kind of the way the feeling around town is after the
We're going to liven it up, though. We're going to liven it up.
Our two teams that we have so much pride in, well, they
Sports, man. It can be humbling, can't it?
Combined 64 points. Do you ever, honestly,
I'm watching
you
the
ever
Grizzlies
think you'd
game.
see a day where the two teams lost by
Never.
64 points?
I'm watching the Grizzlies game, listening to you, think everything's going well, and went and did something else. Grizzlies are up 7, kind of rolling along on the famed parquet at Boston, at TD Garden, whatever they call it now. It's not Boston Garden. It's the oldest-looking new arena in the NBA, according to everybody. And then it changed in a second, and the Tigers, well, they had them right where they wanted them at 9-6.
That's about right. By the way, I want to let everybody know, despite the weather outside, how nasty it looks. Big day tomorrow at Edwin Watts. It'll be the launch of the new Callaway Maverick drivers and those Callaway Maverick fairway woods. They're great-looking clubs.
See that driver high and let it fly, Dave.
These things were designed by the Callaway supercomputer. And Callaway, unlike
not
other...
just Eli Callaway himself, but the supercomputer.
Well, who do you think put the data into the supercomputer?
Mr. Eli.
Eli Callaway did. But look, here's the thing, seriously. Callaway, they don't change every 6 months. Like some companies, not to name them. They do R&D, and they really, really put a lot of effort into the product, and they have designed this supercomputer that apparently will give you an advantage. So I know Jay Hasselman is hoping folks will come and talk a little Eli Callaway with him. Stop by, talk with all the gang at the new, big, humongous, really cool Edwin Watts Golf. That's the launch of the new Callaway Maverick drivers in Fairway Woods. That'll be tomorrow at I-40 and Poplar.
Tiger Woods 2 under through 14 on the North Course at Torrey Pines. That's the easier of the two.
Where does that put him?
He is 2 shots off the lead right now. 6 under through 13. Sebastian Capellan leading.
Is 2 under done for the day?
No, Tiger's through now 15 2 under.
Through 15 2 under. Well, you know, every time he goes out, it's at least a top 10.
Rory McIlroy 4 under through 15.
Ooh.
John Rahm 4 under through 15.
Ooh. It's going to be fun. I am so glad golf is almost here. We have to wait till April to bring in Ted Butler?
First Monday in April.
I got to wait all that time?
When we head down Magnolia Lane.
Darn. All right. In the meantime, let's talk hoops. Let's talk with a guy I love chatting with. That is Mark Wise from ESPN.
He's been busy.
And he's a big timer now. Comes in and town, doesn't even call, doesn't ask where he can go to dinner.
He knows all the spots now.
Hi, Mark.
He doesn't need us anymore, Dave.
Hot guy that you are. Give me this wisdom. I need some solace today. Can you
let me get out my supercomputer.
Yeah, there you go. Get out that supercomputer.
The Mark Wise supercomputer.
I'm serious. In all your experience, have you seen a team lose a game the way Memphis did last night by 40? And come back and still salvage things?
You know what I'm seeing? I'm going to give you a very serious answer. I think coaches whiffed when it came to evaluating the impact of the new three-point line. And I'm going to put it to you this way. I think we're seeing such a wide variance of what is a bad three-point shooting night at the new Arc. A year ago, we would look at a game and a team that went 5 for 20. That was a bad game at the Arc. Or occasionally a team might go 4 for 22, and you're going to get beat. Well, I see all kinds of 2 for what was Memphis last night?
2 for 21.
6,000.
Two for 21. And you know what? And you give Tulsa credit because I think East Carolina was like 2 for 26 when they played them earlier.
Right, and Tulsa's defense is very underrated. That matchup zone gave Houston. I had that game. They gave Houston all kinds of fits. So when you see that kind of wide variance in the three-point shooting, because teams are still making 10 threes some nights, 11 threes, 12 threes, when you talk about making 11 threes versus 2 threes, and you're talking about a 27-point three-point differential, I think that's a big deal, and I think that's why we're seeing such wide variances. How can Michigan State go to Purdue and score 44 points in a game?
Mark, that is just an astoundingly great take. But because I hadn't thought about the line moving back that much, but there are some people they're really chunking up some ugly stuff.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: in the American Conference last year, 6 teams shot in league play. 6 teams shot better than 33.3% or better at the arc. Why is that the Mendoza line? Because that's the equivalent to shooting 50% at the twos.
Right.
So 6 teams shot better than that mark last year. As of an hour ago, when I looked, prepping for UCF and Wichita State Saturday, 2 teams are shooting better than that mark. In the SEC, 10 teams shot better than 33.3% last year. This year, 3 teams. So when coaches want to tell me that they haven't noticed a big deal with the new arc and with the new line, they are whiffing on that topic.
How far? I'm really trying to remember. You'd think it was pretty far based on those numbers and based on how many people step on the corner line when they're getting set to take that shot.
Right.
But I'm trying to remember exactly how far they moved the darn line back.
Just a little bit more than a foot, the new FIBA line. So it's made a big impact. I think we are seeing 2 things at play, Dave. One is it has exposed the stretch 4s and the stretch 5s. Guys that were shooting in the mid-30s last year are now shooting 26%, 27%. I had Colgate earlier in the year. They've got the transfer from Northwestern, the big guy who's the player of the year in the Patriots, shot 38%. He couldn't even find the arc in the game. I mean, his feet are stepping all over the line. I think it's exposed the stretch 4s and the stretch 5s. And defensively, more teams are going under ball screens and are daring guards and perimeter players to shoot the three-point shot with the new line off the bounce. And the analytics has always told us that shot off the bounce is not nearly as effective because, and this makes sense, I mean, there's more moving parts when you're shooting a shot off the bounce than when you're just catching and shooting, your feet are set. So, again, I think there are a couple of reasons for the struggles at the arc, and I think that's it.
Wow. I actually last week I read, and I can't remember where, somebody that was breaking that down, but you've really done it succinctly, and that is the difference. But how many point difference was there? Tulsa does not normally shoot threes very well. They averaged 5.8, and they had 9 against Memphis last night. I'm trying to remember.
I'm telling you, when you have that kind of differential, you're not going to win. You can make it up. I'll tell you the teams that can make it up. LSU can make it up. They don't make a lot of threes. How can they make it up? Because they play north-south better than any other team in the country. You can forget about ball reversal, man. They get the ball and they go in a straight line. One of the better 2-point shooting teams in the country. And then when the ball gets up on the glass, they go get it. They're one of the better rebounding teams. So second chance points is a huge deal. You can make it up that way, and you can make it up at the free throw line. Teams that get to the line a lot obviously can win that battle. You can make up for it. LSU is marvelous at that. Kentucky is marvelous at that, just to mention a few teams.
Well, last night, Memphis did not get to the line either, and normally they would average more free throws attempted than Tulsa. But the breakdown for me last night was they struggled on offense, and it carried over to the defensive side. And normally going into the game, Mark, They were the number one field goal percentage defense team in the country. They averaged shutting people down at a 35% clip. The only one close was Virginia at 35.8. And last night, they didn't defend. I can't figure it out.
And the turnovers continue.
Well, but let me speak to that issue. If I ask Penny Hardaway, if I ask Rick Barnes, if I ask Jerry Stackhouse, if I ask Calipari when I have Kentucky next week, what do you have to do to win tonight? What are they all going to tell me? We got to defend and rebound. We got to defend and rebound. No, you don't. No, you don't. You've got to score. And they are also the first one is to admit that, you know what, we let our offense impact our defense. Well, guess what? Fix your offense. That doesn't seem complicated to me.
You know, what is interesting is I watched the shoot-around a couple of games ago, and it was at Wichita. And Memphis, and Penny doesn't always do this, but for this particular game plan, and Penny is one of those coaches that really does change lineups and game plans for every team. It's not like, you know, you're going to just have to adjust to me. He's got a game plan for a team. He spent 85% of his shoot-around that day all on defense. So you're right. That's where coaches' heads are at. But I think you make a terrific point,
Mark.
Well, again, you know, I've said, I think in the American, I've said this on the air. I think Memphis has the highest top end because, first of all, when it's close, I want the best player in the league, and there's no doubt in my mind that Achua is the best player in the league. I don't know who's second, but he's just another level kind of talent, and with the motor that he has and his ability to impact the game on both ends of the floor. But I'm also concerned because I think Memphis, and I'm talking about the teams at the top now. I'm talking about from Tulsa through SMU with Wichita State, Cincinnati, blah, blah, blah. I also think Memphis can have the lowest nightly performance because of all the freshmen, and you guys have had me on before, because of the two small guards. I'm not a small guard fan, and I get it. They both can do some things really, really well, but you can't hide them at times. They can't see over people in terms of bigger playing against bigger guards. But so it doesn't really surprise me that they lost at Tulsa. Just the score does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up about Lomax and Harris. And this blew me away, but I saw this yesterday in doing my prep. When those two guys are playing together, up until last night, I don't know how it affected it last night, but they were a combined plus 67 when in the same lineup at the same time. That surprised me, and it shows you how good they've been.
Yeah, no, and they do. You know, they give different things. Obviously, you know, Harris is the ridiculous deep shooter and gives you an offensive punch that way. He's not a great decision maker. I think he's got a negative assist to turnover ratio almost
big time,
2-to-1.
Yeah,
where Lomax is more the facilitator. And I'll go back to this. I watched the at USF game where they struggled, didn't play real well. Finally caught USF, and then in the last 90 seconds. Made so many bonehead situational basketball plays. That's what I call that. You've got to have an understanding of time and clock and score. And they almost tried to give that back away to USF. Now, fast forwarded that to a week ago when they played Cincinnati, and I'm watching that game. They get up 8 with 2 minutes to go in the game, and Lomax comes down the floor, and I'm thinking, here's the time you might want to milk a little clock. And he does that. So those are the kinds of things that they're kind of learning on the fly, better situational basketball.
It could really set up this weekend, Mark, for a domino effect of teams. It's not wild to think that Florida at home can beat Baylor. It's not wild to think that KU could lose with the suspension and the controversy, lose at home to Tennessee. And others, in Gonzaga losing at home to Damon Stoudemire Pacific may be the wildest. But their Pacific's 15-6. I'm setting up on Monday, new number one undefeated San Diego State, and they got to go to Vegas this weekend.
Yeah, again, Malachi Flynn has been so good for them at the point. And then the Vanderbilt transfer just is shocking to me in terms of what he's giving them, because he struggled mightily here last year in terms of, I mean, he was having a hard time making 2-foot, 5-foot, 10-foot shots. And yet he's a double-figure scorer. He's much more comfortable out there for whatever reason. So if you're undefeated, I don't care what league you're in. It doesn't matter. If you're undefeated on January 23rd, I mean, it's a special kind of season.
Here's what I'm hoping for. I'm really hoping, and I have nothing against Gonzaga or Mark Few. I think they're terrific, but I hope they lose. Because I know Baylor is going to lose in the Big 12. There's no question in my mind about that.
Right.
And
right.
Therefore, we have a chance between San Diego State and Florida State to have 9 new number ones in 1 year. That would say, and Dayton, it could be 10. We could have 10 new number ones this year. Set a record forever.
All right, but with that, Mark, in the preseason on November the 4th, starting this season, Tuesday, November 5th, rather, if you would have told me we have a chance at 10 teams to be number one this year in the AP and the Memphis Tigers won't be one of them, I would have bet everything I could have bet on that, against that.
Well, I've said this also. You know the difference between number 6 in the country and number 36? It's one possession. The difference between 36 and 106, it's one possession. If you want me to explain what's going on in the American alone this year, how about this? I call this the transitive property of college hoops. Tulane beat Cincinnati but lost to UCF. UCF beat Tulane but lost to SMU. SMU beat Temple but lost to ECU. ECU beat South Florida but lost to Tulsa. Tulsa beat Houston but lost to Cincinnati. I mean, can it not be any clearer?
Crazy year.
Very good.
It's going to be fun. It'll all get sorted out sometime in March, and that's why it's March Madness. And, Mark, we're going to have you on a bunch of times before March gets here.
Promises.
No problem, guys.
Right.
I'm on my state of Tennessee tour this week. I'm still in Nashville, so headed to Wichita tomorrow.
Here is a question for Calipari when you see him next. You say you got him in a week?
I got him next Wednesday. Yep.
Okay. You ask him what his favorite donut place in the world is. And if he doesn't say Gibson's, remember that, then you report that back to me.
Well, remember, my favorite restaurant on the planet is in your fine city. I am such a flight fan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That you recommended, Dave.
Yes, sir. Well, remember this. There's 2 guys that own Flight Restaurant. One of them is the brother of the tight end who used to do our games on radio with me, who also is famous for catching the winning pass in the only win Memphis ever had over Tennessee. And so the next time you're here, since I gave you such a good recommendation, go to Gibson Donuts, where Cal used to hang out all the time. Go to Gibson Donuts. You'll get the best either glazed donut or apple fritter in the history of mankind.
You got it.
All right, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll see you soon, I hope.
Be safe.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That is Mark Wise. We got to take a break. We're back in just a minute, and we'll put a wrap on this first hour on this Thursday soggy edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
If it's time for a new gun, rifle, or silencer, Tactical Guns and Gear in Collierville on Highway 72 is the best place to go. I promise they have the newest, most exciting selection of guns and silencers you could ever want. I don't care if you shoot for fun, hunt, or just need a gun for personal protection, Tactical Guns and Gear has the best selection of firearms around. The only one-stop silencer shop in Tennessee. In less than 10 minutes, they do all the paperwork. Take your photo, originate gun trust, take your prints electronically, and the best part, you never never have to scan them again. Yes, silencers are legal. No special licensing, just a simple background check. Silencers don't make your firearm silent. They simply reduce noise for more enjoyable shooting, help protect against hearing loss, reduce recoil. It makes you more accurate. Best silencer place in the entire state of Tennessee, right here in Collierville. For all things guns and gear, ask for Jake or Jim at Tactical Guns and Gear on Highway 72 and tell them Eli says hi. Online at tacticalgunsandgear.com.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's you, Jamie. Don't hang up. You need to hear this. You gotta quit wearing that aviator jacket. Nobody's buying it. Sorry you have to hear it from me, but at Progressive, we're all about giving it to people straight. That's why we show our rates alongside our competitors' rates. And when you're helping people find great rates, you don't need some jacket to look cool. Just keep rocking that scarf.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Comparisons not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Well, this first hour disappearing.
Did Chris Powers go from tight end to center or center to tight end?
Tight end to center.
What? Make the biggest catch in the program's history and then give it up for the team to go to center.
Probably a big mistake by the head coach of that era, who shall remain nameless.
He's got a name, and we won't tear it in half.
Well, he was here a long time.
It was his biggest win.
Oh, yeah. He had another win later in his career that was cool because it was father and son.
Yeah.
That win over East Carolina, which was really a good program in those days.
Really should have gotten Tennessee in 99 with father-son up there. Really should have gotten Ole Miss opening day of 99.
But honestly, probably, if we're really being honest, should not have played son. It should have played Danny Wimprine and not saved,
you think,
the redshirt year. Probably would have saved his job.
I mean, you go recruit him out of New Orleans and then you don't play him.
He said, and I never really asked the parents about this, but when I asked him years later as to why he really chose that, and I understood, he and Scott, we're talking about Rip Shearer, he and Scott had a really special relationship, and I'm sure they still do. Father and son, they were really tight. And in fact, the kid, he turned down going to Harvard so he could play for his dad and never expected to really play, and he would have played had he gone to Harvard. I asked him why he did that, other than because he wanted his son to play. And he goes, no, I promised the Wimprine parents that I would redshirt their son for a year so that he would get a really good chance to be good for 4 years. So if that's the case, that is the case.
Tommy West, talking about woulda, coulda, shouldas, his first year of 2000 at the Liberty Bowl almost beat Tennessee with Scott Shearer. That was a close game.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember all the specifics of that one. All I know is there's only one.
A day about like today, weather-wise.
Boy, that's nasty. A lot of close calls with Tennessee. The one that really always comes to my mind happens to involve a guy we'll have a little bit later on this show, and that's Russell Copeland, who fumbled away a punt.
92.
And if he didn't do that, Memphis probably going to win that game.
And another close one with Tennessee was the day that D'Angelo kind of checked out on the sideline.
Oh, I know. And who was the
Joe Doss? Back up. You talking about him?
Oh, that's Drew's guy.
That's my guy.
Joe Doss.
Favorite Tiger player.
Favorite Tiger player of all time.
He stepped up. But who was the quarterback that also he was like he was a jack of all trades?
Mo Avery?
Mo Avery, who played on the basketball team. My favorite basketball
Joe
team.
Doss is your guy, isn't he?
Yes.
You got a number 5 jersey somewhere?
Unfortunately not. I need to get one.
Ooh, now we know we can get him. Joe Doss really did. He stepped up big and
Sure did.
against a physical team. The Mo Avery story, the best one I've ever heard, is that he joined the basketball team. You remember that? And he was really there to be a practice player. And this John Calipari asked him to come down, and he goes back up to Tommy West about maybe a week after he'd been practicing with the team. And he goes to Tommy and he goes, Coach, I'm going to quit the basketball team. And Tommy goes, what? You're not quitting the basketball team. You just joined the team. And he goes, well, Coach, he won't let me play.
You're never going to play.
And Tommy says, well, Mo, that was sort of the plan. You were supposed to come and help them in practice because they're short people. He goes, Calipari's biased. He goes, he's going to play that Antonio Burks. I'm better than Burks. And Burks was the conference player of the year when by the way, we had Louisville and Cincinnati and everybody in the league that year.
Well, that's Mo Avery's wide receiver coming out of him. They always think they're open.
That always strikes me as really funny. But a lot of close calls with Tennessee. You all right. All right, that is 1 hour in the books. We got a lot of good stuff still to come your way, and it'll begin with Elliot Perry here in just a minute. We'll ask him if he has survived the ugly night of 24 hours ago.
Do you throw the tape away or do you watch last night for both of them? We'll ask Elliot.
No.
Throw it away? Y'all are throw it away people?
You're throwing it away?
I mean, what are you really going to learn from it?
I say
you're going to learn the examples of when you did not play hard and correctly. We'll ask Elliot. That's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Hey everybody, what's the best new thing to kick off 2020? A new All-Star Chevrolet. You cannot believe all the zero finance deals and cash back on the new 2019s and new 2020s. 0 for 72 on most new All-Star Chevy Silverados, 2019 or 2020s. Plus, you get thousands off MSRP in bonus earnings when you finance with GM. Every Silverado truck you're looking for is at All-Star Chevrolet right now. So if you're ready to kick off 2020 in your new Chevy, head to Olive Branch this week. Not the Pike, not South Haven, not Mount Moriah or Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch, people. And everybody at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch has one job: to make sure you get a better deal that's more fun and enjoyable and in record time. And be sure to ask about all the deals on the new Blazers and Traverses. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch today or check out allstarautogroup.com.
If you're someone that enjoys a truly great steak, then there's only one choice for you downtown: 117 Prime. 117 Prime has lots of different things on the menu, but the main attraction is the steaks. Prepared by chefs that love a great steak, you can choose from the 5 or 10 ounce fillets, the 16 ounce prime, the 8 ounce top sirloin cap culotte, or the 14 ounce New York strip, or the king of them all, the 24 ounce dry aged porterhouse. You heard that right, 24 ounces of the best steak you've ever tasted. If you're craving steak, then head downtown to the steak experts. Head to Prime.
When it comes to your bathroom, the shortest distance between outdated and updated is a trip to the Home Depot's Days of Doing bath event. Like vanities up to 40% off, faucets from only $49, plus a wide selection of online bath products. Can't make the trip? We can deliver. It's a good time to be a doer and a saver. Now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Limited time only. Event end dates vary by store. See store for details.
Kansas City and San Francisco are headed to the big game, and Sports 56 will be there. Join Eli Savoy live from Radio Row in Miami for Sports 56 middays and throughout the day, Tuesday through Friday. Get all the latest news and hear guests from around the league previewing the matchup. Coverage of the big game on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 is presented by The Big Green Egg, Gateway Tire, Olive Branch Motorsports, and Southland Casino Racing. And also brought to you by Memphis Tourism and Sports Council.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time to go inside Hoop City with Grizzlies radio analyst Elliot Perry. Inside Hoop City is sponsored by Campbell Clinic. Each Thursday, the former Tiger great and 10-year NBA player joins Sportstime with Wolo and Stats to talk Tigers and Grizzlies and all things Hoop City. Now, here's Elliot Perry with Wolo and Stats.
I like slam dunks, taking it to the hoop. My favorite play is the alley-oop. I like the pick and roll. I like the give and go. Cause it's basketball or Mr. Curtis flow.
Yesterday in the give and go, both sides, pro, college, there's a lot of giving, not much going.
Not much going.
Woo.
It happens. There's a paddle to fit every rear end out there in sports, isn't it?
By the way, the big paddle in Tulsa. Hate to say this, but Pelicans lost last night to the Spurs. The Grizzlies' loss means
not in the playoffs.
Out of the playoffs. We no longer have playoffs.
If they started today, the Grizzlies would not be in the playoffs, but they're not starting today.
No, there's plenty of chance. But if you look at road games now and schedule getting tougher,
it is.
Maybe I got a little too ill too quick with playoff fever.
And we thought of the two road games going out after the long homestand, Boston last night and Detroit on Friday night. Of the two, the winnable one would be Friday night in Detroit.
Sure, and you would have been happy.
And that's no gimmick.
To split.
Then Sunday afternoon at home against Phoenix. Next Tuesday night at home against Denver.
I almost feel bad for Detroit because what Blake Griffin's hurt again, and they're talking about trading Derrick Rose. It's like they're giving up on the year.
Did you see John Calipari and Bradley go to the game last night to watch Derrick Rose play?
I did not. But did you see, Kobe Bryant's in the news because he's maybe going to be a part of helping Dwight Howard in the dunk contest. But Kobe also made news because he said the other day that he thought these three players could play in the NBA. They are Diana Taurasi, Elena Delle Donne, and Maya Moore. You think that those three women who are great players, they were unbelievable in college, they've been unbelievable in the WNBA. Do you believe those three could compete in the National Basketball Association?
I think if they could, they would be playing. Somebody would bolster their roster and play them.
I tend to think you're right. Everything's up for grabs in the NBA. They want to win.
If you can help somebody win,
they
they would play.
Absolutely want to win. And so, I kind of believe you're right.
So that
I think
that's a question for every GM and for the commissioner. If he's right about that, why aren't they?
Well, there are people that tried too, and this was back when. But if I'm remembering correctly, Drysdale's wife, what was her name? Maiden name?
Myers.
Yeah, Ann Myers. They gave her a shot. And
didn't Lucy Harris go to a camp?
I think Lucy Harris did. I think
did Nancy Lieberman go to a camp?
Nancy Lieberman was the one I was trying to think of. Yes.
Didn't Ann Donovan from Old Dominion go to a camp?
I don't remember Ann Donovan doing it. The one person that really could have done it, that might have is Reggie Miller's sister,
Cheryl
Miller. She might have been able to play. While we're efforting,
I think if they could at any point in the last 40 years, if they could, they would have.
While we are efforting, Elliot Perry, this is Inside Hoop City's segment. So let's go Inside Hoop City with you folks who want to talk, I guess, about the Tigers in particular and the drubbing last night. And it was a low moment. There is no question about that. We'll open up the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255. And we'll go start with Vincent. Vincent, your turn. Go ahead.
Yes, how you guys doing?
We're doing fine. Thank you.
That was a tough game to watch last night. I'll be honest with you. For the first time in a while, I stopped looking at the game after the lead got up to 30. But I want to remind everybody about something. Back in 2010, 2011, I think Josh Pastner's second year, we had 4 freshmen in the starting lineup, 2 5-star and a couple of 4-star people. I think it was Tyreek Black, Chris Crawford were the 4-stars, and I think Will Barton and Joe Jackson were the 5-stars. We went down to UTEP, and they put almost a 40-point whooping on us. I believe they beat us like 74-57 or something like that. It was like 37, and the league got up to 40 points during the course of the game. Well, about 2.5 weeks later, we went back down to UTEP and won the Conference USA Championship.
No, we went back 1 week later.
No, the dates was February 26th because I looked it up. February 26, 2011 was the day we lost. March the 12th, I think, was the day that we won the title. But so it was right at 2 weeks. But anyway, the point I'm making
2 weeks,
is
that could very well be then. I don't know if there were very many games in between because I thought that was the last conference game of the year, and then you got.
No, it wasn't the last conference. We played maybe another couple of games after that. But the point of the matter is, those freshmen caught UTEP on the night when they were hitting everything. We weren't missing everything. We only scored 47 points. Last night, I mean, if we had hit some threes earlier, that would have helped the confidence. But the defense was the first time that they had gone south. And Penny said it best. He said that was the first time where our lack of efficient offense hurt our defense. Because heretofore, we did play defense. But with that being said, they got to find themselves as a basketball player. If you get whipped like that, you got to dig within yourself and say, hey, man, I'm not letting this happen ever again. And basically, I think that they are going to bounce back from it. If the Los Angeles Lakers can spend $30 million on LeBron James and Anthony Davis and lose by 32 to the Celtics, heck, we can lose by 42.
Hey, Vincent,
you didn't really just compare the Lakers to the Tigers, did you?
Well, no, I'm just saying. You're paying professional athletes who's supposed to be 2 of the best players, 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA on one team. They lose to the Celtics by 32. And
your points are unbelievably well taken, and your memory is really good too because you were correct. What were the dates on that?
He was right.
Okay, Vincent, we thank you. And Elliot Perry joins us now. So, question for Elliot Perry as we again go inside Hoop City is when you've got a game like you had last night, is that a game you show your team or you just forget completely?
I probably would think a little bit of both. I think it's one of those games where obviously we want to put it out of our mind. I mean, it's behind us. Let's move on. I think at the same time, I think you could do some contrasting film work. I mean, you can show guys when we play defense and when we play at a high level, here's what happens, and then contrast that with what we did last night from a defensive perspective. Look, you're going to make shots and you're going to miss shots. We know that, but defensively, that's something that we can do consistently, and something I think Penny and his staff preach all the time. And so I would think, not sitting there and watching the whole film and just dreading through all the things that happened last night. We know we got beat by 40, but I think, picking out some of the pieces of last night and then contrasting those with when guys did it right, I think that can be helpful.
So I know we had 2 stinkers on our hand last night, a combined loss by 64. I don't know which game you got to watch the most, but let's start with the Tigers. And I'm sure you saw some of it anyway. What do you think happened last night?
Yeah, I just think, it's probably like anything else. I mean, when you are now the hunted, when you're coming into other opposing teams, arena, that's a big game for them. I think they were ready. I think they had scouted Memphis well, and I think overall, he did a good job of mixing up his defenses. And when Memphis on the other hand came in, I thought once they started missing some shots, started pressing a little bit. I thought lack of communication at times or lack of details at times, and when you're on the road, all of those things have to be on point. Look, when you make shots and then when you miss shots, both can be contagious. I saw some shots that they hit last night that I thought, man, these guys are on fire. I mean, they're hitting some tough shots. But also I saw some shots that Memphis had. We had some looks last night that we didn't make. And I think both things were sort of contagious in terms of once they got to rolling downhill with making shots, that their confidence was high. And then vice versa with Memphis, once they missed a lot of shots, and then we just started pressing and trying to get back in the game all in with one shot, and that's just not the way you get back in games.
Elliot, I know time is precious with a college team now. The very idea of a practice limitation, I don't know when you could carve it out, but almost like I would for college football and facing the wishbone, I think I would dedicate some days either in the spring or in August, and of course game week or game preparation like in basketball, to zone and like defending against the wishbone, because boy, everybody just freaks out against it.
Yeah, I mean it's something that probably you don't see much. I mean, most people are going to play man-to-man defense. We're used to that. When we're taking our reps in practice, you practice more against the man than you do anything else, and you hit on zone a little bit, but you don't do it enough to really find any consistency with it. They got in the zone, and once it started working, I mean, probably like any other coach, you're going to stay in it.
Well, that's what Frank Haith does, and those zones change. And they can be a 1-2-2 to a 2-3 to a 3-2 to a 1-2-1-1. I mean, he's really creative, and there's a lot of man principles once you start it. And I think our guys recognized it early, but they abandoned the game plan because they started missing open shots.
Right. And just like, I think I'll piggyback on what you were saying, Dave, is just like you start to you play a zone, you play it consistently. They know teams are going to make some shots, but they stay in the zone, much like Syracuse and Jim Boeheim. I mean, you know exactly what you're going to face against them. You're going to face that zone, and they're going to stay in it, the whole game. I thought that, they know their zone principles. They know they're going to make shots. You can tell that they preach, look, they're going to make a few shots. Let's just stay in it. We got to we got to make sure that we pay attention to details. We got to get out on guys. We got to know the shooters. And if they do make shots, let's make them make shots over a hand raised or a contested shot. And on Memphis side, they knew they were going to face some zone with this basketball team. But again, you spend the majority of your time, I think, practicing and playing against man defense. And when you get in the game and when you're on the road, you have to make sure that you pay attention to details, particularly in the zone, because the zone it's an odd defense. If you can get the ball in the middle, you collapse the zone, you kick it to the opposite side, you may have a wide open look, but it's intended for teams to shoot outside shots.
What does a 40-point loss, when you were the favorite, what does that do to the psyche of a team that is so young like Memphis?
I think it can affect your psyche a little bit. But I think one of the things that I texted Finney this morning, just talking about making sure that his team doesn't splinter, making sure he gets, re-engage them. That loss is behind you. How do you learn from this and go into the next game with a totally different and clear mindset about what we need to do to win basketball games? And sometimes a big loss like that can be good for you. That now the coach has your attention, and plus, if you have any pride, you go into the next ball game knowing that we can't lose this next ball game, and so you go in there with a different perspective. And then sometimes again, it can derail you. Guys starting to splinter, guys starting to get in small groups and say the coach is not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not getting this. Hey, I've been hearing we're playing too many guys. There are a lot of different components that you can listen to, but you are in that locker room, and I think Penny knows how to get his guys back re-engaged, or at least stay engaged. I think Mike Miller, all of these guys have been in those situations before, and to be frank, I mean, we've all been blown out before. I mean, even when you played on good teams, I mean, all of us have played in games where we've been blown out before.
Yeah, and Elliot, kind of the same problem with the Grizzlies the Tigers have. There's not that veteran locker room influence really for either team to maybe bounce back for the Grizzlies from a 24-point loss and from the Tigers from that humiliating loss last night by 40. There's not that veteran influence. And the younger guys, the Memphis guys on the team, they're younger. Tyler Harris and Alex Lomax are kind of the old men of the team, and they've been here. They've been on, in uniform a year and a half.
Yeah, when you don't have that locker room presence, that makes a big difference. The guy who can pull everybody together, the guy who can really calm people down, whether he's playing a lot of minutes or not. But you do need that, kind of calming presence, and that always doesn't have to come from the coach. You need that guy that's been in those situations before. And again, we're a very young basketball team. We don't have that. We faced adversities before. We won on the road under adverse circumstances. We've lost on the road in adverse circumstances. So again, this is just a matter of guys coming back together, refocusing, re-engaging, working on it in practice and paying attention to the details and going into the next game with a different frame of mind.
What do you do with a guy like Boogie Ellis, a clear 5-star prospect that was on his way to Duke? And in this stretch here, he is totally struggling. Even at NBA Day camp that they had at the Walton Center, he was the one, even with Wiseman there, that had all the numbers, the intangibles that people were talking about, because he has a 44-inch vertical and things of those natures and a release that's quick for threes. He is 0 for 17 in conference play. In 5 games, he scored 3 points, all from the free throw line. What do you do with a guy like that? Where's the disconnect?
Well, I think, if you're asking me, the way I would approach it is, look, all of those intangibles in your game hasn't gone anywhere. Everything you had before, you still have. I may have to go back and show him some tape of himself and the things that he was doing offensively that we really need him to do again. And so sometimes tape can bring it out, but my main thing is, giving him the freedom to clear his mind and say, hey, just go play. Don't worry about it. You may take some bad shots. Go out there and play basketball. Don't worry about anything else. If you're open, shoot it. If your guys play you to the left, go right. If your guys play you to the right, go left. If you feel like you got an advantage, get to the rack. Just go play basketball, play instinctive basketball. And a lot of times that can just take a lot of pressure off guys, because what happens is, you think about that. You freeze up, you tense up, you're not making shots.
You can't play.
We know the game is played, obviously physically, below the neck, but a lot of it is played, from the neck up.
Got to be relaxed. You got to be relaxed. You got to be confident. Visiting with Elliot Perry going inside Hoop City. And on the Grizzlies front, the tape's getting around on Ja Morant. The reputation is getting around on Ja Morant and this young Grizzlies team. That's a good thing. And I thought it would have a baseball effect of the second time through the batting order, some of these teams. And it may not be the strict second time they see them. But the Grizzlies' reputation after that homestand, it's a good one. And Boston was really ready on the parquet last night.
Yeah, not only Boston, but New Orleans was ready as well. So now you become the hunted. Teams are not taking you lightly anymore. Teams realize that we have some really good players on this basketball team. Ja has been getting a lot of attention. Jaren has been getting a lot of attention. And this team, frankly, has been getting a lot of attention sitting in the 8th spot. And so now teams are coming in here saying, hey, let's not take these guys for granted. You have a New Orleans team that's right there in the chase for the 8th spot, so that's a team that's chasing you that wants to get that 8th spot. So you knew that they were going to come in here after a tough loss against the Clippers. They were going to come in here and play well, and they did. They came here right off the jump, took advantage of that game. And then Boston Celtics, obviously, that's one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and you know what they're like at home. And so I thought we hung with them in the first quarter, and really played really good basketball in that first quarter, but look, frankly, we don't have the leverage to be able to have a 17-point quarter and a 19-point quarter in the second and third quarter and then give up 33 points and 41 points. It's a recipe for disaster. We scored 32 points in the fourth quarter, but it's a little bit too little too late. And so for me, this is still a growing opportunity for this young team. This young team is still trying to figure out, again, how to be a consistent team. We think we know who we are from an identity perspective, but we're not completely there yet. And so I think sometimes you exceed expectations, so you jump a little bit forward. And like I said on the air with Eric, a few games back is, one of the things I hate to say I hate, but one of the things that's always concerning is when a young team get that attention and now they're in the 8th spot and now teams are talking about the playoffs when we still have a lot of the season to go. Because you can take your eye off the ball, you can get unfocused in terms of, just play the next game in front of you. Don't worry about anything, and then everything else will take care of itself.
You saw last night, and you were talking about the differentials in quarters, but a 23-0 run in the second quarter by Boston. I want to know if you remember the most famous run you were ever involved in.
I don't remember the most famous run we were ever involved. Well, I do remember. I take that back. I mean, I think the Louisville game.
Bingo! How could you not remember that?
Yeah, my bad. I do remember that.
24-0 start.
Yeah, 24-0 start. Yeah. That was a crazy game, but people talk about that game all the time. But what they don't realize is that they came back.
They did.
We ended up winning that game by I think 2 or 4 points. So it ended up being a lot closer than it really was. But that was in Freedom Hall, and we were on the road. Just got off to a really good start, and was able to hold those guys off.
Elliott celebrating the 100th year of Tiger basketball, and I think for any Tiger fan, anybody that's ever even kept up with the Tigers even loosely, you just say the Tigers at Freedom Hall, and that rings loudly.
No question about it. I mean, my favorite place to play in all of college sports. I mean, Freedom Hall was the place to play.
It was.
You were on the big stage. They had great fans. The rivalry was, I mean, as tough as ever. It didn't matter about the records or anything else. I mean, you could won 4 games and they won 20 games, and it still was going to be a knockdown, drag-out game. And so I have a lot of respect for Louisville.
Heck yeah.
And yeah.
Brett, since you bring it up, the centennial year, there's a thing going on at GoTigersGo.com.
Oh yeah, they're out.
And there's 25 players, and you get to vote. And the top 15 are going to make the all-centennial team. And Elliott, I hope they're voting for you. I have voted for you. Just want you to know that. But when you read the 25, you're going, wow, what a program. What a history we have here.
You want me to read them?
Yeah, read them, please. In alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order. Antonio Anderson, Forrest Arnold, Will Barton, William Bedford, Mike Butler, Rodney Carney, Bill Cook, Chris Douglas Roberts, Larry Finch, John Gunn, Penny Hardaway, Cedric Henderson, Joe Jackson, Larry Keenan, Keith Lee, Jeremiah Martin, Elliott Perry, Dexter Reed, Ronnie Robinson, Derrick Rose, Andre Turner, David Vaughn, DeJuan Wagner, Win Wilfong, and Lorenzen Vergagne Wright.
Yeah,
pretty good. Pretty good right there, huh?
It's a heck of a list. And you know what? To even piggyback on that is to show that this is has been a tremendous program, that some great players have come through this program, and we have a lot of pride in what we do. I mean, there's still some guys that could be on that list that are not on that list. I don't think I heard Ben Benson ask you name.
Nope.
I don't think I heard it, but I have a lot of respect for Benson and his career there. Just a lot of other guys. So I feel honored. Yeah, Sylvester Gray. I feel honored to be on that list. But any one of those 15 guys it's a win-win for me.
And I don't say this just because you're on the air with us, but honestly, and I didn't see Larry Finch play, because if I asked George Lapidus, he would have said the most clutch guy. But in all the time that I've been doing the games, and that's since the mid-'80s, the best clutch guy that I want taking the last shot or at the free throw line with no time left, like in New Orleans, I want Elliott Perry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's definitely a compliment, given the guys that he read on that list, and some guys who have made some tremendous shots. I mean, I don't know what that says about me, David. That says like, hey, we were an average basketball team in a lot of close games, and we had to try to pull those games out. But nah, man, my time at Memphis State and the University of Memphis was the highlight of my basketball career. there's no question about it. The friendships that I made, my mom and my family made there, the way they treated me, the coach playing under Coach Finch and the guidance and just mentoring he gave me is a lifetime of things that I still use, principles that I still use, things that I still talk about, and so it was just such a family atmosphere. And I still say this, and you guys back me up, and if not, I totally understand. One of the great college arenas is the Coliseum, no question.
No doubt.
Oh
my goodness, yeah.
That fight
Loudest.
song at the Roundhouse, it was about as much fun as you could imagine. And I'll give you two guys that aren't on this list, and you probably watched them as a little guy, and maybe get lost through all these great players. The Elevator Hilliard in the 70s and Smoke Holloman in the 70s.
Smoke Holloman, yeah.
How is Deadeye Dexter on that list?
Yes, sir. Dexter Reed's on here.
Okay.
John Dexter Reed from Parkview High School. You better believe he's on here. I love him.
Elliot, we love you. Thank you much.
Elliot.
We appreciate it.
We really do. Thank you, Elliot.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
A lot of fun.
Elliot Perry, who joins us every week on Inside Hoop City.
We need to do a list of the next guys, maybe like the next 25 or the next 15, and come up with our list.
Yeah.
Hank McDowell, who really flourished more as a professional player and later in his career because he was just a sack of bones when he came in and had to put some weight on.
I never saw him play in a Memphis uniform.
It's
one of my regrets.
When you need something in insurance, then let the Gatlin agency handle it for you because things are going to come out of left field, and you need a good game plan that makes all the difference. Luckily, Farmers Insurance, they've been helping people cover their bases for more than 90 years, and they can help you too. Let your local Farmers Insurance agent, Chad Gatlin, put his experience to work for you. Chad proudly serves greater Memphis families and businesses, and he's ready to review your existing policies and provide a no-obligation quote today. Call Chad at 901-235-1176, 901-235-1176, or visit memphisfarmers.com to get smarter about your insurance. At Farmers, they've seen almost everything, so they know how to cover almost anything. Talk to Chad today to see if you have the coverage you want for whatever curveballs may come your way. Call 901-235-1176 or go to memphisfarmers.com.
Back in a minute, we talk National Football League with the one and only Russell Copeland. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3. Here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Is imitation the sincerest form of flattery? Not when it comes to your car audio. Stereo One is the leader in car audio, remote start, security, and more for the past 30 years. Stereo One is proud to announce the grand opening of their new location, 1983 Covington Pike, across from the Honda dealership. To celebrate their new location, Stereo One has marked down their entire inventory. Remote start systems at $129 with free installation. Subwoofer base packages start at just $199. Window tint starting at $129. The entire inventory of radios and touchscreens with features like Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, and backup cameras are marked to go. Check out Stereo One before you buy online. Their knowledge, friendly sales staff, and pro installation team will take care of you. Visit the Stereo One new location today, 1983 Covington Pike across from Honda, or visit their mega store at Mendenhall and Winchester. Make sure you go to the originators and not the imitators. Stereo One is still the one for your auto accessories.
Pop Wigington has been in the restaurant business since the 70s and has now brought 3 generations of family favorites together under one roof at Pop's Comfort Kitchen, 2990 Kirby Whitten Parkway next to Kroger. Pop's takes you back to a simpler time when food and life was more wholesome. Settle down today for lunch or dinner at Pop's with daily specials like country fried steak, fried catfish, chicken and dumplings, or Pop's famous fried chicken livers, all served up with your choice of 23 fresh vegetables like field peas and snaps, seasoned green beans, sweet corn and turnip greens. Hungry for a sandwich? Check out the Chuck, a hand-patted cheeseburger between 2 grilled cheese buns topped with lettuce, tomato, diced onion, pickles, fried egg, and bacon. Or a half-pound flat iron steak sandwich served on Texas toast. Don't forget one of Grandma's homemade desserts like chess pie or banana pudding. Take comfort today at Pop's Comfort Kitchen, 2990 Kirby Whitten Parkway next to Kroger. Pop's Comfort Kitchen.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 115 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. So easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. Stock up heavy on all of your favorite Dinstall's treats. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
You watched me vote.
I did. Welcome back in, halfway through this Thursday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. Our hour presented by the good folks at Genesis of Olive Branch. I'm going to lunch tomorrow with my good friend Chris True, the general manager of Genesis of Olive Branch, and we're going to talk strategy and we're going to talk cars. And I love talking all this new technology. These luxury cars, really the best on the planet right now, Genesis. If you don't believe me, go look at the popularity, and they're trying to produce more because there is such a demand. The Genesis of Olive Branch dealership's going to get bigger. There's going to be more entrances. It's going to be grander, and we're going to get more product. I just saw, in fact, an ad. You know how you're reading a newspaper story and always there's a little thing that tries to entice you to read it. And it was about the brand new SUVs, and they got a Genesis SUV coming out that is going to knock your socks off. But if you look at like my G90 right now, you go, whoa. Then you look at the G70, it looks like a James Bond car. You go, whoa, whoa. You'll be impressed, I promise. And, of course, the technology is so good you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new Genesis on the lot. And then there's the shopper assurance that you get at Genesis of Olive Branch. Go see Chris True, all the gang, right there at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78. That's Genesis of Olive Branch. We love talking football, National Football League with Russell Copeland every week. He joins us now. We got a Super Bowl, and Russell, I kind of surmised it this way. You tell me if you agree. I think the best overall team, top to bottom, is the San Francisco 49ers, and they're up against the team with the best quarterback, and I don't care who you throw at me. The best quarterback in the league right now is Patrick Mahomes. Is that fair?
That is fair, Dave, and when you look at the playoffs, I think the playoffs had a little bit of everything. You had 6 seeds, the Tennessee Titans, shouts out to them. They played outstanding. But as you mentioned, pretty much the entire year for the NFC, it has been Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers offensively, great offensive line, running the football, and they've had a great defensive front that has won a lot of games for them. And when you flip the coin and you look at Patrick Mahomes, he was injured midway through the year. I think he's come back healthy. And I think they have a 4x100 relay team as far as with their wide receivers. So within that intrigues me, and that's going to make a great matchup for Super Bowl 54.
You were right about that track team speed. And, this is a team that had Kareem Hunt as part of their roster, and the defense played better getting Chris Jones back for the playoffs, really, or for that game last Saturday, really helped in that defensive front. Bowing up against Derrick Henry, it was very impressive. To the NFC side, and Matt LaFleur has lamented and remarked about it a lot this week. The spark, the edge, it just wasn't there for the Packers all day. Somebody wake them up and tell them they're a game from the Super Bowl. It looked like they were playing that third game of the preseason in August.
Well, Matt LaFleur, he came out and said that he pretty much felt like the effort was not there. And we spoke about it intensively last week. about that matchup. And usually when a team beats you one time and it's a large margin, they usually win the second game, but maybe the margin is not as big. But I talked about it last week. I think overall the Packers did not have enough from the defensive side, the offensive side. I think from the physicality standpoint, I think they were going to be overmatched. And Aaron Rodgers, he's getting older, and I think this football team now relies more on the run and it's more balanced. And I just looked at that defensive front coming in, and they were healthier than they were when they played them the first time, and they beat them almost 30 points. I just knew that it was going to be that type of football game.
On the other side, we were all marveling at the Tennessee Titans because everybody knew what was going to happen. The ball was going to go to Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was going to run you over, whether that was, some of the best defenses in the league could not stop him, including New England, for goodness sake. And yet, here's a Kansas City offense I believe was ranked 28th out of 32 when it comes to stopping you against the run, and they loaded the box, and they stopped Derrick Henry. He gets 62 in the first half in terms of yards and only 7 in the second half. You got to give Andy Reid, you got to give the defensive coordinator a lot of credit. They figured out a way to slow down the best running back in the game.
Definitely, Dave, and I think this was a rematch game that had played earlier when the Titans were able to win that game 35-32. But when you look at stats and you look at statistics, I think you can just throw everything out once you get into the playoffs. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs defense for the last month and into the playoffs, I think they're playing a whole lot better than their ranking up to 24th. And we knew coming in that the Tennessee Titans, to me, were one-dimensional, and they had to play smash-mouth football, and they had to rely on Derrick Henry and hopefully get a couple of passes from play action. And for me, I said to myself, how long can Derrick Henry run for 188, 192 and continue to put this team on his back? And Ryan Tannehill had not thrown for 100 yards or more in the playoffs. And I think it finally came to a point that they were not going to let Derrick Henry beat them. They were going to put it into Ryan Tannehill's hand. And that's pretty much what they did. If Derrick Henry does not get over 100 yards, it's hard for the Tennessee Titans to win. And great job by Kansas City, Andy Reid, the defense, to come in with a great game plan and ultimately get into a track meet with Kansas City. You're probably going to lose.
Do you re-up with Ryan Tannehill if you're the Titans?
Yes, definitely. Now, do you go and you draft a quarterback, or do you try to make a trade for someone? That's going to be seen. But when you look at what Ryan Tannehill has been able to do, he has resurrected his career. And I think that was the change for the Tennessee Titans when you made the switch from Marcus Mariota and you put Ryan Tannehill in. It seems like that team caught life. He was able to throw for some good games. Derrick Henry caught fire when he got back healthy. And right now, when you look at this football team, with him being at the helm, they look like they can definitely be better than a 9-7 team coming back next year in a division that's very competitive.
I agree with you. I think you tried to re-sign Ryan Tannehill, but you got 19 guys whose contracts are up. So, and I asked this of Mike Keith the other day. Normally, you know me, by position, I don't value the running back like I do a quarterback, left tackle, an edge rusher,
a lockdown corner.
I think I really kind of think it used to be tight end, but I really believe running back, in the way the game is played now, is the least valued aspect of a football team in this day and age. However, if you've got a great one and you know it's an impact running back, I do think it becomes essential, especially with the way that Arthur Smith and the Titans decided they were going to play this year, using a big offensive line and running behind this kid who is right in his prime. I would pay Derrick Henry big bucks, but you're going to have to pay the kind of money that the Cowboys paid Ezekiel Elliott. Would you do that, Russell Copeland?
Well, without a question, Derrick Henry is a special back, and you talked about where the money is as far as running back, and Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley have pretty much set the standards, and you're looking at probably paying them over 20-something million a game and guarantee over $60 million.
A year.
Yes, a year. I mean, not a game, a year. So when you look at this from top to bottom, you have to be able to look, what are the strengths of your team? I think it may be better to even franchise Derrick Henry, and give Ryan Tannehill some money. You're not going to break the bank with Ryan Tannehill, but at least you have a quarterback that's there. If you go out and you give Derrick Henry the money that he deserves and you want to pay him as the number one running back, I think now it's going to be very hard for you to be able to fill in the gaps offensively as far as another wide receiver, and then look at your linebackers, your defensive line to be able to shore up that, and then look at your offensive line. It's going to be tough. But Derrick Henry has definitely proven that he's one of the top running backs, and I think this is his fifth year. He definitely had a breakout year, and he's a running back that definitely has to be taken care of from a monetary standpoint.
I can't disagree with that at all. You got to figure out a way to keep both those guys.
It was kind of old school football with the 49ers this year. Run the ball, throw to Kittle, the tight end. They don't get in a huddle, ride the defense. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he was more than game manager. I want to give him credit. I do. He was more than, just kind of a steward of the game. He did more than that, but they don't ask a whole lot of him.
I think, guys, he was a game manager when you look at early in the season, but I have to go back to your general manager as far as John Lynch, how he's put together this team. And I think when he went out and he got the trade for Emmanuel Sanders, and he comes in and here's a veteran wide receiver. Now you look at Deebo Samuel, you look at some of the other young wide receivers. Now you have a wide receiver that can run every route that's in the route tree. He can help your young wide receivers. And now maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is finally healthy, and he was able to throw the football when needed. So when you look at it, we know what the strengths of the football team is. It's going to run with Tevin Coleman. You got Matt Breida. You got Raheem Mostert now, and you also got Jeff Wilson Jr. So you know you're going to run the football, but he can throw the football if needed, and I think that's something that's underrated about Jimmy G. He can throw the football when needed, but hey, guys, why throw the football when you almost can run the football for over 300 yards? People say, hey, he only handed the football off 8 times. Listen, they were gashed. They were getting 10, 15 yards to run. So why am I going to throw the football when it's clearly that we have an advantage of running the football and we're dominating the trenches?
And you're keeping the other offense off the field. It was just perfect planning, in my opinion. You keep Aaron Rodgers out of there, and, it's up to the defense to stop the run. If they had been able to stop Raheem Mostert, Raheem Mostert, if they could stop him, then Jimmy G would have passed the ball. They weren't even throwing the ball to Kittle because all they could the guy got 220 yards.
But it was some holes you could drive a bus through.
I agree with that. When you can run 23 miles an hour, obviously you've got a runway. So, that was the case. I keep hearing about how, Jimmy G, all he does is hand the ball off. First of all, they have some tricky plays that he executes perfectly. But if you ask him to throw the ball, he throws the ball well.
Pretty good. It's right on time.
Hey, he definitely does. And to me, that's why when you look at this matchup, it's intriguing. And we'll talk about it next year, and we'll give our next week, and we'll give our picks. But the entire year long, this is what the 49ers have been able to do. And when you're talking about playoffs and you're talking about Super Bowl, what do you want to be able to do? You want to be able to control the line of scrimmage. You want to be able to run the football, stop the run, and your front seven has to be a game changer. And that's what the San Francisco 49ers have. Now you're going against the Kansas City Chiefs. When you look at them, they can throw the football all over the field. They can put your defense in different situations where it's their favor because you have Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill can split any defense. He can demand double coverage. But then you also have Kelsey, who's probably one of the best route runners it is. If you want to double them in a cover 2 type of double, then you also have to look at the running game. You have to be able to look at the other 2 wide receivers when you look at Sammy Watkins. So I love this matchup. So when coming in, the Niners can run the football. If they can keep Patrick Mahomes off the field and they can jump on them like the Texans did and like the Tennessee Titans did, I think they have a great chance to win the Super Bowl.
But they got to play keep away from Mahomes.
I have to ask you this question. How does a guy like Raheem Mostert get cut by 6 other teams, especially when you see he was running whatever it was, 21 miles an hour, 23 miles an hour. I understand there were big holes, but you've got to be able to accelerate through them. Usually when you have a guy with that kind of speed, teams are going to hold on to him, especially with his size. Why in the world did 6 teams quit on Raheem Mostert?
You hear me say this all the time, Dave, and you just alluded to it earlier in the show as far as the running back position. I think the running back position is undervalued. And when you have a running back that's undervalued, then that's what happened. Running backs that have a lot of talent sometimes they slip through the cracks. I can look at our own Memphis guys. One was a 4th-round pick in Pollard, and one was a 3rd-round pick in Darrell Henderson. There's no way that you tell me Darrell Henderson is a 3rd-round pick. I thought he was a late 1st-round, early 2nd-round pick, and you look at him now, he's sitting on the bench behind Gurley. But I think that he could be a starter in half of the teams in the National Football League. So that's what you're seeing now. You look at Pollard. Pollard's behind one of the best running backs. You see him when he comes in the game. How is this guy a 4th-round draft pick? That's how you look at a guy like Mostert. That's how he was able to slip through the cracks. And also, you look at Matt Breida. Matt Breida, you saw him early in the year. I think he ran 23, 24 miles an hour one of the first game. He doesn't even play as much as he played earlier in the year. They have 4 running backs that can come in the game at any time and play, and they could start for any other team. And I think that's the answer to your question, Dave.
Since you brought up both Pollard and Henderson, Pollard got playing time. What do you think it is? Because they were initially giving Henderson playing time, and that stopped. And I know Gurley came back, and Gurley is the guy. But why do you think Darrell played so little this year?
If I had to pinpoint it, and looking at my rookie year and coming in, and I played for a very intricate offense and had Jim Kelly there, I think coming in as a rookie, you have to be able to know the ins and outs. You have to know blocking schemes, and you have to know a lot at that running back position. And I think as a rookie, I think there were probably some times that they were not quite as comfortable with him. And I looked at him play earlier in the year, and I think he got in and started playing, and I think he had a fumble. And after he had that fumble changed the game in that particular game. So I think that may have been the reason. But from a talent standpoint, and giving him an offseason to be able to learn all the ins and outs of that offense, look forward to him being able to play a whole lot more. I look at Todd Gurley, I don't see the same Todd Gurley as I have seen in the past couple of years. I'm not going to say it's his knee, but he's not the same Todd Gurley. And I look for Darrell Henderson this year to be able to play a lot besides Todd Gurley.
He is Russell Copeland. Can't wait to hear who you think.
Can't wait.
Although I think he's already sort of given us a little bit of
I'm with you.
A little thing here. You're with him, huh? Woo, we may have a difference on our picks for the Super Bowl. That'll wait for a week. Have a great week, Russell. We always appreciate chatting with you.
Thank you, Dave.
Russell Copeland, brought to you in part by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. If you're looking for a new home, maybe a renovation, I say renovation with innovation. Ken understands it's a big decision. That's why he works closely with all of his clients. And right now, he'd love to show you this new development called Alaylon. It is a gated community by Boyle that is at Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh, where 4-bedroom homes start at $875,000. Ken's the kind of guy where he provides you with opportunities with lots. He had this great place on Johnson Road right by Poplar that was, it's all filled, so you can't get in, but it was just idyllic. And this new development, Alaylon, is the same way. If you're interested, call 901-751-1632. That's 751-1632, or go look online at kengarland.com. Back with a wrap of our number 2 here on this drizzly cool Thursday of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
The Vault on G.E. Patterson in South Main downtown has all your game day needs with 30 TVs. If your game is not on one of the 20 big screens, then sit in a booth with your own remote. The Vault has game day specials on pitchers, buckets of beer, and great food, which is the best thing about the Vault. This is not your normal sports bar. Chef Dirk Meitzler from On Tour and Cafe 621 has all his favorites like Chicken Newport and his new lobster enchilada. Open for lunch and dinner every day with lunch specials for $12 weekdays with a drink. The Vault on G.E. Patterson in South Main, your downtown place to eat, drink, and watch the game.
Now,
More of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Producer of the Year award could go to Drew Bear, didn't it?
Yeah. So.
Great take.
We know about last night, a low point. There is no question. Certainly the worst part of this Penny Hardaway era, losing by 40 at Tulsa.
He says it'll never happen again.
A team, well, losing by 40, he's probably pretty
I
safe.
hope he's right.
Because our absolutely astute producer, Drew Barrett, started doing some work. How many times in the 100-year history of University of Memphis hoops have the Tigers ever lost by 40 or more points?
The Tigers in 100 years of college basketball have lost by 40 or more points 4 times.
I know last night in 1970 – no, that was the fewest points. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, so the first time, February 15th, 1928 at Earl, Arkansas. I'm guessing that's the high school of Earl.
The Bulldogs?
I'm guessing so.
Really?
High school?
Earl opened the can up in what year?
In 1928. Yes, because in the media guide it just says
Who
at
knew
Earl, Arkansas.
Earl had a high school in 1928?
Well, it was in the 20s like now. Maybe it's a 20s thing to lose in the 40s.
It was the roaring 20s.
Maybe so. They lost 69-26. The next time, January 5th, 1935 at Murray State, 63-18. And then, of course, March 4th, 2017 at SMU, 103-62. And, of course, last night.
So what was the one at SMU was what, 19 what?
2017.
The one at SMU was 2017.
But 41.
That was 41. Wow.
It took 2 hours to go through all those.
Good job.
So,
so much time, so little results.
1928, 1935, 2017, and 2020. So
in all likelihood.
So wait. 2 were 7 years apart, and then there was a gap of
35 to
65 plus 73 years, and then 3 years.
Bet it never happens again.
You bet Memphis will not lose by 40 ever again in the history of the school? I would not bet that.
I wouldn't bet it either.
It can happen.
But 4 times in 100 years.
True. But
2 in the last.
It's
and you're
crazy.
saying it won't happen in the next 100 years.
You know what? It's easier now because of the three-point play. Because of three-point shooting, it's easier to build up that lead. Memphis was 0 for 10 or 12 in the first half, and they hit 3 or 4.
Oh, it was big misses.
No. And, you know, I mentioned this at the beginning. The Tigers were really playing good to begin the game. I mean, they passed the ball. They had, on their first 3 buckets, they were easy for Precious. They were all 3. They were assisted. They were either a layup or dunk. And then, honestly, in the right corner, after they worked the ball perfectly, there's Tyler Harris, who, by the way, last year was a Golden Hurricane killer. He averaged 17 points a game, a wide open look, and it looks like it's in, and it goes halfway down and out. And that was basically the end of the game. There was an 8-0 run right after that by the Golden Hurricane. Suddenly they were up 11, and for the first time this year, Memphis gave up. The Tigers gave up. There wasn't the fight we saw against Tennessee and Knoxville or against
South Florida.
UAB at Birmingham
If it hadn't been that
or
fight at USF,
South
that'd have been a
Florida
loss.
in Tampa. And all those could have been losses. And
Sure
maybe we were seeing the handwriting on the wall right then. I mean, we look at it. There's been one super game they played, and that was pretty much in Brooklyn against an NC State team. That's pretty good.
Drew inspired me to go to the 1927-28 schedule.
Who else was on it besides Earl?
Boy, it's zany, isn't it? And the head coach was Zach Carlin. He was more than just a streak. It was a real
it's good to know there was a person
There was
there.
a real man before there was a streak.
Unfortunately, both you and I only know the street. We never met the man.
That's right. They opened at Delta State, W. Take that, Statesman. Then came back with another W against Bethel. They're now Messick High School.
It's actually the year before that was when they lost to Earl. Was it the 26-27 season, which I don't understand why they even have 26 on there because they didn't start playing until January 7th.
Oh, so they lost in the calendar year of 27 or 28?
In the calendar year of 27. It was February 9th.
February 9th. Oh, so the year before.
Oh.
Wait. You just said Bethel is now Messick?
Oh, you were right. I'm sorry. I got my dates wrong. I was looking at the wrong game. You were right. It is in the 28 year.
It has Bethel and in parentheses Messick High School. They may have played there. I don't know.
That's it. They played Bethel at Messick High School.
Rhodes College.
That's exactly right. Ooh, what'd they do to Rhodes?
Took a L.
What?
32-24.
Rhodes beat the Tigers?
Not going to lie. Going through this for the first about 12 years they play Rhodes.
And
probably a losing record.
And every time I do this date in Ole Miss history.
You can look that up. Just look at the series. It'll tell you what they've done.
Some of them.
Just go to Rhodes.
Some of them are there. Earl's not there. I went to yeah.
You went to Earl's?
Yeah. And every time I do this date in Ole Miss history, and invariably there'll be a 1906 game of Ole Miss against MUS.
Right.
And there's a loss or two in there.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Continuing. They played Jonesboro College. I assume Arkansas State.
That's Arkansas State. Sure. What'd they do there?
38-31. It was not a prolific offensive team, as you can tell by the scores.
Well, they were still taking the ball out of the peach basket then.
Lambeth at Catholic Club.
They played Lambeth at the Catholic Club?
No, they played Lambeth, and then they played at the Catholic Club.
Wow.
UT.
I wonder if they have you ever seen the there is a Catholic club.
Oh, yeah.
The house that's in East Memphis, really not that far from here.
I wonder if they played there.
I wonder if they had a court.
UTJC. UT Junior College?
That has to be. No,
I think that's Martin. I think UT Martin.
No,
turned
there's
from there,
UT Martin later in the year.
No,
never mind.
You know what I think it is? It's probably the JC team.
And then
could that be it? The JC team?
At one time, Tennessee Martin's nickname, they were the Little Vols. That was their nickname.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's very flattering.
No, it isn't. I think they were smart to change.
Played the Elks Club. Man, you don't want a piece of the Elks Club, I can just tell you.
I can't believe
they gouged you with those horns.
You even put the Elks Club in your media guy. What was the score in that game?
79-30 Elks.
Oh, my. They lost by 50?
Rematch with Jonesboro College, at Lambeth, at Rhodes College, at Bethel. Nothing to do with Messick High School this time. At UT Martin. Then they played UT Doctors at Messick High School, in parentheses. That's where they played. Very good, Dave. At the Battle with Arkansas. Throw the record books out. At Arkansas A&M, which I think that is now Arkansas Monticello. Another one against Arkansas A&M. And then the one that you throw the record books out for good. The YMCA Triangles.
What did we
having fun at though?
What did we do to the Triangles?
Lost by 12, 32-20.
Oh no!
Then played in the.
What was our record that year?
10 up, 11 down for Zach Curlin, 27-28.
Just 21 games.
Mississippi Valley tournament, postseason tournament, played in Jones Boogie. Boy, don't you know that was some atmosphere. Played Will Mayfield, I guess the school, not the man, from Missouri. W, advancing in the bracket. Then beat Lambeth, moving on in the bracket before losing to UTJC.
Little history lesson today. We got to do something to amuse ourselves. It was not pretty at all last night. That
lost to the Triangles.
Certain. We will take a break, and our good friend from St. Louis, Chris Raby, KMOX on the Hall of Fame, the video scandal. Are they actually going to get Arenado?
And everybody's history book
so.
has those teams in that type of game.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You're playing the med school, and you're playing Columbus High School.
It was before really college basketball got established
and football.
As a great sport, or football. You're right. We take the timeout. When we return, Chris Raby, and we'll switch topics. We'll get back to the Tigers and the craziness of last night when Blake Lovell joins us at the bottom of the hour. 2 hours in the books on this Thursday of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
The construction reduction event is on at Wolf Chase Honda. Exciting changes are in the works and inventory must be reduced. Get the best deals right now on all remaining 2019 Hondas while they last. Every new car, every certified, every used car, price to go. Get pre-approved now at wolfchasehonda.com. Wolf Chase Honda is expanding and our prices are dropping. Don't miss these savings. Act now. This huge construction reduction event ends soon.
For the best lineup of quality, fuel-efficient, and fun-to-drive vehicles, get to Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan. Over 1,000 new certified and pre-owned vehicles in one great location. Catch the savings now during our huge model year-end sales event. Score an amazing deal at Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan and get to the game in style at Germantown Road and Highway 64. Family owned since 1981.
And the coach calls timeout.
Wait a minute, you can't call timeout when you have leaks and Mother Nature is roaring through your home.
A technical foul from outer space may be in order.
Don't know about that, but we can measure your roof from outer space at BrianElderRoofing.com.
So if you need repairs or wondering if you think you may have a claim,
call me before you call your insurance company. And we've got 0% interest for 60 months with approved credit. We won't try to sell you a new roof if all you need is a repair.
My friend Chris Price, a longtime donor of the U of M. Call him, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
God bless America, Penny and Mike, and go Tigers.
And now back to the game.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Kansas City and San Francisco are headed to the big game, and Sports 56 will be there. Join Eli Savoy live from Radio Row in Miami for Sports 56 middays and throughout the day, Tuesday through Friday. Get all the latest news and hear guests from around the league previewing the matchup. Coverage of the big game on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 is presented by The Big Green Egg, Gateway Tire, Olive Branch Motorsports, and Southland Casino Racing. And also brought to you by Memphis Tourism and Sports Council.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1, and 87.7 FM, as well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app, and at home, tell Alexa or Google to play Sports 56. If it's happening in the world of sports, we've got it covered. Wherever you are, stay tuned to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Chris Raby from KMOX in St. Louis, that we visit with a lot during the baseball season, every week during the baseball season. We'll check with him about the potential of a Nolan Arenado trade from the Rockies, the baseball scandal, and the Hall of Fame vote this week. I still want to find the person that voted for Brad Penny.
Are you upset that one guy voted against Derek Jeter?
Upset wouldn't be the right way to characterize it. I just thought he would join his teammate, and they're inexorably linked in baseball and Yankees lore in the 100% club. And I don't like some of the backlash that baseball writers are taking from it and not wanting him, quote unquote, outed, not wanting him profiled, not wanting him badgered. They are calling it a witch hunt. As I said yesterday, here's the thing about the famous Salem witch trial. There weren't any witches. That's why that's where the term comes from.
True.
There weren't any. There's an actual voter that did not vote for Derek Jeter. There's no witch hunt to it.
I get that, but my thing is this. If a guy thinks that there is no, because the best guy ever to play the game, and that's almost a universal, is Babe Ruth.
Okay.
And if he wasn't worthy, this is an opinion. If he wasn't worthy, then no one ever will be. That doesn't make him a bad voter,
It sure does.
because he could get in
Fully
next
within
week.
his right.
If George Brett, if Hank Aaron,
Just show yourself.
If Mickey
Stand
Mantle,
up and say, I'm the one.
Oh, that's
what
fine.
I want. I want a little more
Okay.
transparency.
But you know
with
what?
it.
If he did, say it was me, and I said that, you're going to be mad at me?
No,
because
tough toenails.
we
It's my
set the
opinion.
standard already. The standard was done by our predecessors, and I'm going to honor them. If you
I'm fine
say
with
that, what's the big deal? I hear guys, man, I've heard guys national shows. I've heard guys here. They're just so upset that he didn't get unanimity.
And not upset. I want him to show himself, and I want to hear his explanation for it. And I think there should be more transparency in votes every year for what it's worth, and it's not worth much. But every year at SEC Media Days, and I told this story yesterday, for years there's been a friend of mine associated with Ole Miss, and as a lark, he will vote Ole Miss to win the SEC. Not just the West, to win the SEC. Even did it the last few years when they couldn't. They couldn't go to the game.
Right.
Because and I told him, I said, quit doing that. And he said, I'm just having fun with it. One year, it incensed particularly the Arkansas media. And, man, I mean, they were on a putsch to find out, was it you, Brett? I said, well, it wasn't me, but why are you asking me in that tone? No, I didn't. I'll show you my ballot. So I have started making a copy or a screenshot of my ballot every year since then, because, man, they were ready to find him. We got to get this guy that did that. And I thought, well, first of all, if you don't pick the winner, what of it? And every year, one of the big stories at SEC Media Days is how poorly we, the assembled media, pick the eventual winner. We only have gotten it right like 4 times out of 27 or 28 years, something like that.
Right.
But, man, they were determined to find him. But I want this voter to show himself, because especially now in sports, a lot of the blue check mark world loves to vomit every single thought they have about national politics. But yet I'm not going to tell you I voted for the Hall of Fame.
The problem that guy will have, if he's a long-time voter, if he's a first-year voter, he's got no problem. All he's got to say is, I believe we set the bar years ago when my predecessor said Babe Ruth wasn't good enough to get in unanimously in the first year. So I'm honoring them because I think they had wisdom. Whatever you want to go and say, that would work. But if this guy's a longtime voter, he did vote for Mariano Rivera the year
That's
before.
right. So he has set that precedent.
So he has set that, and that's where his problem is.
And there's a comeback to even that Babe Ruth stuff. Is it's always been done this way. Here's the comeback to that. Once upon a time, all of our grandparents, and I hate to go to bathroom jokes or purposes, but once upon a time, due to lack of plumbing, people used the bathroom in an outhouse. We moved on from that. So let's move on from, well, if Babe didn't get it, by God, nobody does. I think we should move on from it.
I got news for you. I don't think that correlation works. It doesn't work for me anyway.
We'll get you Sears and Roebuck catalog then. This hour of our show brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road. Check them out online at DeSotoAutosales.com, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience. Laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, and they care about your time. They want you to have the ultimate car experience. You walk in, within 45 minutes, test drive your car, get credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in about 45 minutes. We're living in a world today that time matters, and they know that at DeSoto Auto Sales. Check them out online at DeSoto Auto Sales, but better yet, go by 5704 Goodman Road. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. I know Chris Raby has to love joining us for the first time in 2020, and we're talking about going to the bathroom in an outhouse.
Well, let's just ask Chris Raby, are you upset that Derek Jeter only got 396 out of 397 votes?
No, I'm more upset that Raul Ibanez got 1 vote.
Brad Penny got 1.
Yeah.
Like, who's voting for Brad? Yeah, and, there are always going to be the look at me faction, and I get that. There will always be the folks that in preseason polls vote for their team as, the division winner or the conference winner, even though they have no shot. Like, I get that. I do think that there should be an audit and some accountability when it comes to things like Hall of Fame votes, because listen, there are a lot of really, 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 really good and really qualified baseball writers that don't have Hall of Fame votes yet. For God's sakes, Jay Jaffe, who developed the JAWS system, which is used as a baseline by a lot of writers to formulate and, check on their voting process. He doesn't even have a vote yet, until next year. And he developed a system that everyone uses. So there should be a, system where we audit your votes. And again, it is your vote, but people that out of principle do things that I think are not in the spirit of the process, maybe if there was the threat or scenario of them losing a vote, they would do things a little bit differently. That's just the way I kind of feel about it. Same thing I feel about umpires, and same thing I feel about anyone who is given great responsibility, because with that responsibility comes a burden to, I think, do the best you can, because you are representing not just yourself, but a whole lot of people, and you're having an impact on people's livelihoods. So, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Clarify this for me, because I'm really not sure. Do broadcasters get votes if they've been around long enough and they're deemed worthy, or do you have to be a writer in order to be a voter for the Baseball Hall of Fame?
You have to be a member of the Baseball Writers Association of America and then meet the criteria to vote. And of course, writers that are national, that are local beat writers, and you do have to be a member, though, of the Baseball Writers Association of America.
But Joe Buck could not vote for the Hall of Fame.
No, he could. He hadn't been asked to, but he is a member of the BWAA, isn't he?
He's not a writer.
Well, I'm not a writer either, but I'm a member of the Football Writers Association of America, and I'm not a writer. I think there are some broadcast outlets that can join BWAA, isn't it, Chris?
You can apply for. I don't know the criteria for membership to the BBWAA, but I would. I mean, and I don't know if Joe is a member. I don't believe he's ever written for an outlet, but I know there are a lot of writers who have been, again, covering the game and writing about the game for quite some time, and still have to go through the process of gaining their eligibility to vote for the Hall of Fame. So, it's something that, like, even Derek Gould only fairly recently got his eligibility to vote. So again, don't quote me on it. I have to look it up. I don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years, but it's a pretty significant amount of time. You have to be a member of the BBWAA in order to vote for the Hall of Fame. And yeah, I wouldn't think that Joe is a member, for instance.
I'm not sure I know of any broadcaster that is, because I think it is. You got to be a writer.
Still strict writing with the newspaper industry dying before our eyes.
Yeah, and again, it's you don't necessarily have to write for a newspaper, but they take it very seriously, and the application process, even to get a BBWAA credential, is very serious, as it should be. So we're going to take. Yeah, so I guess my point being, if we're going to take the criteria for eligibility to vote that seriously, then maybe there should be some criteria to keep your vote.
Chris, it should be. It should be taken very seriously. And Dave Woloshin was very instrumental, if not the 100% pusher, with Jimmy Himes' help, of me finally, after begging for years, and I mean abject begging, to be a Heisman Trophy voter, I finally got to do it this year. And Chris, I'm not kidding you. I probably got first year. It was the easiest year ever to vote for Joe Burrow. But I'm not kidding you. I slaved over that darn ballot. I studied and wanted to get that right, especially first vote. I wanted to get that as right about anything since the last term paper I did in college. But I say all that, and you can get around them, Chris, and I want to be serious about this too, because I take it seriously because I love it. But you can get around some of that Hall of Fame voting crowd, and they are convinced they're voting to get you in the pearly gates of heaven to meet Gabriel.
Yeah, and I think we're moving away from that a little bit. I think that especially my peers that are writers that are maybe closer to my age bracket, they have been fighting the fight to get more guys in. And really the catch-22 with the Hall of Fame ballot in baseball is that voters can only vote for up to 10 players. And I think that for a while, maybe we're just starting to see now kind of this breaking a bit. There were a lot of really qualified guys and a lot of really qualified players that deserved to not just be in the Hall of Fame, but guys that deserved to be on the ballot for longer than they were. But because there were so many guys that weren't in because of maybe the philosophy you just mentioned, there were guys falling off the bottom of the ballot. Is Jim Edmonds a Hall of Famer? Probably not. I think we can agree on that. But does Jim Edmonds deserve to stay on the ballot more than 1 year and get more than, 5% of the vote? Yeah, I think so. But there were guys at the top of the ballot that weren't in, and guys that should have been in. Like, we've finally seen, 4 guys elected the past 3 elections before this year, the 2. I think that we'll see Schilling and Bonds and Clemens either get in or fall off the ballot. And the fact that, Bonds and Clemens have been getting between 50 and 60% of the vote for the last 8 years, like those are a lot of votes that could have been going to other guys, that could have been going to Larry Walker, So I think that as we see some of these guys get in, I think that as we see voters who are maybe more statistically inclined and are not romantic about the secret society aspects of it, then, we'll see more guys go in, and we'll see more guys, even if they're not Hall of Famers per se, stick on the ballot. Like, it's ridiculous to me that Ted Simmons had to wait until the Veterans Committee to get in. If you look at his numbers, like, how is he not a Hall of Famer just by the back of the baseball card eye test? The guy who caught 150 games every year, hit 280 from both sides of the plate, did what he did offensively. He's one of the best offensive catchers in the history of baseball.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it took literally the analytics movement. I know so many people roll their eyes, but it took this new wave of statistics and analytics and the way we value players for this kind of groundswell to start again for Simmons and for him ultimately to get in due to the Veterans Committee. But it's ridiculous that A, he was on the ballot for 10 years, and that B, he didn't get in until this year. Like you said, Brett, it's not, the process to canonize someone for sainthood. Like, if you are good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, then you should get in. And hopefully, kind of back to your original question about not voting Jeter unanimous out of principle, the one voter that didn't do it. Hopefully we're getting away from some of those games, and we're just voting, and by we, I mean the voters, are just voting based on whether or not a player is good enough to be in that museum.
Well, we know there's no question that Bonds and Roger Clemens are worthy of getting in. They should be in by just merit.
Kurt Schilling.
Do we think that voters will realize that, or are they going to pay the price for the PED?
Or have they maxed out at about 61% of the vote?
Yeah, which appears to be.
I don't know. I think it'll take, obviously Walker won't be on next year. I think you're maybe going to see some people treated differently in terms of their philosophy. I've always kind of felt it's a museum. They're part of, I'm not, providing a groundbreaking or overly unique opinion here, but I've always just kind of felt it's a museum. They are part of the game. And you know what, guys? It wasn't my job to legislate who was or wasn't using whatever they were using back then. It wasn't my job to enforce that. It wasn't and isn't my job to speculate on who used it and who didn't. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a slippery slope to use morality to judge guys who gained a competitive advantage if you're turning a blind eye, perhaps, to moral cases that didn't impact the performance of a player on the field. It's not my job to, determine whether or not a certain guy is a good guy or a bad guy or, was a great father or a crummy father. Like, it's not what you're asking me to do if you're asking me to vote on the Hall of Fame. And, I think, treat guys differently based on when or how they admitted guilt as steroids are concerned can be really, really dangerous. Maybe it's easy to paint Clemens and Bonds as villains. Bonds was let back in baseball. He was the hitting coach for the Marlins. Mark McGwire was let back in baseball and, was contrite about what he did. But, who do they owe an apology to? The sports writers? I don't think so. So I guess maybe I'm hopeful that those guys will get in just because I think they're both a really, really important part of the game. And they both, in my opinion, deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Andy Pettit's on the ballot. Andy Pettitte kind of had a tearful press conference after he denied, and then everyone kind of loved Andy Pettitte again. So again, it's kind of a sliding scale, which I think is unfair. And if you're telling the story of the game, those are two of the best that ever played the game, and I think they should get in. I hope they get in over the next couple of years.
You're right about, honestly, the crying, and it becomes a popularity contest and apologies and everything else. But I do think that the commissioner and baseball made a decision. They were going to find a fairly unique way out of all this, and that is to basically say that if you die, you are forgiven, that you can get in.
Oh, that's nice.
It was in my mind put in there for Pete Rose, basically saying, Pete, you're not getting in until you die, but then lifetime bans, you're going to get in. And this is the way that they'll do this. I think it could work out that way, that's how it works for Clemens and for Bonds.
And looking good for Shoeless Joe.
Oh, definitely for Shoeless Joe. The dude had 12 hits in that World Series.
Yeah.
He was on the ballot after that, right? It's just it's so, I don't know. It's hard to be consistent with this. And listen, I understand everyone has the right to feel the way that they feel and treat their vote the way they want to treat it. But I think anyone who was hopeful that maybe they would get an apology from Bonds or Clemens, I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah,
so
I think so too.
Bonds up yours. He's not apologizing to anybody.
Yeah, and if you think that he's good enough to get in, then vote for him to get in. If not, let's all move on in 2 years and wait until the Veterans Committee.
Chris, time a little bit short. Will the Cardinals make a deal for Nolan Arenado?
I don't know. I think that the one thing everyone is overlooking in this story is the Rockies' motivations to move him. And I think that there has been maybe an assumption, at least from Cardinal fans I talk to and some of the things that I read, an assumption that the Rockies are going to trade him. So, you better make sure that you've got a dance partner or you might be left out. I think that's putting the cart a little bit in front of the horse. If you're the Rockies, I've yet to talk to anyone who is connected to them who says they have determined they're ready for a rebuild. I think they were probably, as many teams do, doing their due diligence in terms of what they could get for Arenado this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if once we get to spring training, he tells them, maybe regardless of if he's thrilled to be there, I want to focus and I want to play and I don't want to answer this question every day. So let's table this. It just seems to me like people were assuming that he was going to be traded and the Rockies were going to trade him. And, if they are indeed motivated to move him and they have to move him, I think the Cardinals will be involved because I think that they want a seat at the table. They need to know what it takes to acquire him. They obviously have kept their powder dry by, everyone thought it was the end of the world when they didn't trade for Zach Wheeler at the deadline last year. Well, they're about as well stocked as they've been in a long time with top tier talent, with organizational depth that they could make a deal happen. It's just, what they call their puke point. Can they get a deal done without getting to the point of feeling sick about it? And are the Rockies to a point where they can't, hold other teams, hostage because they can ask for the world and wait to get it? So to answer your question, I don't see a deal happening right now just because I don't think the Rockies are willing to sell on anything less than, $1.50 on the dollar, which is not the way the Cardinals or really anyone these days do business.
Last thing for Chris Raby from KMOX, involved in the St. Louis Cardinals broadcasts. And it's simple, and I'm not asking you to incriminate any team. But we've seen that it's pretty positive that the Boston Red Sox and the Houston Astros use technology to steal signs. How many teams out there do you think have done so in the last 10 years?
Have done so at all, or have a pattern of that, or
either way?
To gain an edge, a pattern.
And by technology, just anything outside of a guy in the dugout or on the bases.
Binoculars, cell phone, walkie-talkies.
Half.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, I'm cynical about this because if the Astros were as blatant as they were and almost laughed about it or did laugh about it in the press, like I just assume this happens. As a baseball fan, I would love if they're isolated incidents, but you guys know, whether it's sports or the business world, when there's jobs and money and success on the line, people will do extraordinary things that maybe you never would consider yourself doing. And again, as a baseball fan, I hope that that's not the case, but I just find it hard to believe that if it was this easy and this rampant until really social media blew the top off it, I just have to assume, unfortunately, that it was going on a lot more than maybe we'd like to believe.
You think it's going to stop now because of the harsh penalties?
Yeah, I certainly think that, guys losing their jobs and the just ferocity and the swiftness of how teams dealt with this at a team level after the commissioner's penalties were handed down, I think that would be a major deterrent. In the past, a lot of stuff maybe would be met with a slap on the wrist. But we like when Carlos Beltran got fired, that was kind of, I think, the tipping point. Like no other players are punished. If he was still in the league, he maybe wouldn't get punished at all. But the fact that, the Mets, who, I mean, you're talking about a team that's dealt with way worse from a PR standpoint than Carlos Beltran. They've got, Mr. Madoff sitting in prison. Like the fact that they fired Beltran, I think that is a warning shot to all of baseball. And I certainly hope that it ends now. I think teams will be hyper vigilant about it. And if it took those guys losing their jobs, and I'm sure they'll all be back in baseball soon, you hope that will at least get everyone to come to their senses. And I'm sure there have been a lot of really panicked discussions around the industry over the last couple of weeks.
Happy New Year, Chris Raby. Glad we could chat with you, and I look forward to a whole bunch of conversation as the year 2020 progresses.
Cannot wait. Great to talk to you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Always a pleasure to chat with Chris Raby. Brought to you in part by Genesis of Olive Branch. That's the place to go to get the number one luxury car on the planet. That's the place with great service. Ask about the shopper assurance. Chris Drew. He makes it easy for you. And then if you talk about this product, well, I've never ridden in a more luxurious car than what you will get with my G90 or the G70. That's like a James Bond car. Both are unbelievable with acceleration and handling and more safety technology in those cars than any car I've ever seen, and all the little trappings like the seat warmer or seat cooler and the steering wheel warmer and the little different buttons I can hit to drive the car, or the different button I can hit to see forward or backward or above the car. It's amazing, the technology. And of course, every new Genesis has a 100,000-mile, 10-year limited powertrain warranty. If it's a 100,000-year car, my goodness, I hope you live that long. Anyway, you go see my guy, Chris Drew, at Genesis of Olive Branch. We take a break. When we come back, more basketball. Blake Lovell will join us as you listen to this, the Thursday edition of Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Farmers Insurance knows that there's a not-so-subtle difference between the sound of a car hitting your rear bumper and the sound of a clown car hitting your rear bumper.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Sorry about that.
We call that a three-ring fender bender, and we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent.
They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers.
Farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Get to Holly Chevrolet in Marion to take advantage of great deals during Holly's 2020 kickoff sale. Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months on the all-new 2020 Chevy Silverado 1500 plus $1,000 bonus earnings. Or get 0% financing for 72 months on a new 2020 Chevy Equinox plus a $500 cash allowance. Stop by today and check out Holly's large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs ready for you to enjoy. And at Holly Chevrolet, it's a no-pressure, no-hassle environment. As a matter of fact, there's no Badgers. And never pay a dock fee. Find new roads at exit 14 off I-55 in Marion, just 15 minutes from downtown Memphis, and online at hollychevrolet.com.
2020 Chevy Silverado 1500, stock number N4007. 2020 Chevy Equinox LT front-wheel drive, stock number N4074. 0% financing on approved credit. All discounts, rebates, and incentives are included and applied. Must qualify and finance with GM Financial and have a 2005 or newer GM product. Prices do not include tags, title, or registration. Take delivery by 2320. See dealer for details.
Tiger Hoops fans have something extra to look forward to this coming March. Not only is it tournament time, but it's the opening of the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum.
After Finch's two-pointer, Ronnie Robinson sank the shot that once again brought the two teams into a tie.
Come to the Pink Palace Museum this March and experience 100-plus years of Tiger men's and women's basketball, from their beginnings as the West Tennessee State Normal School to the present.
The Tigers are very much alive.
Don't miss the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum, opening March 7th.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
What a yucky day. It was a yucky night last night. We'll revisit that with our friend Blake Lovell here in a minute.
Hard to piece together a 40-point loss.
No. We'll talk some college hoops from Clutch Points app and Blue Ribbon Magazine. Our friend Blake in a minute. He's brought to you in part by the Eflin Insurance Group, which is bigger now. The Eflin Insurance Group has merged with Brit Lender, and now we're talking about a company that has over 300 years of combined insurance experience. They have access to a multitude of A-rated carriers as determined by AM Best. They're locally owned and operated this business now, serving the Memphis area community. If you go back into Britt's family, we're talking since 1955. And they specialize in auto, home, umbrella. They'll do the small to mid-sized commercial accounts. It's all about service. That's what they think. Service First Agency, where they treat your family like their family, and they are good. And you know Matt, he still does it the old way, where he sits down with you and evaluates exactly whether your business or your family needs. He'll sit down and go one-on-one with you to determine which product you need, and then you are protected. And that's what we all want. We want to feel secure. And if you call this number, 901-757-2305, 757-2305, you'll be protected with the Eflin Insurance Group. Blake Lovell joins us now. All right, how damaging is a 40-point loss to a net 86 team? You were a 3.5-point favorite. You're the 20th ranked team in the country. What does a loss like that to that level of team mean for your chances to make the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's not good, guys. I think you know that. It's having to piece together how a game like that plays out in that fashion. It's something, and like you said, I think from a numbers standpoint, and from the point of trying to build an NCAA tournament resume, it doesn't help you at all, because that certainly knocks you a bit, losing a game like that. And, even if it's not just about the numbers, it's still, everyone knows about this game, and everyone has kind of seen the result from this game, because it's hard not to talk about. And in that scenario, certainly the landscape has changed a little bit in terms of the view of this Memphis team right now.
Well, at our friend Shelby Mass site, bracketwag.com, and Shelby's the official bracketologist for USA Today and the Gannett newspapers, he has the Tigers already dropped to a 10 seed. And that's obviously you would open against the 7, and his matchup is the 7 being Indiana. And you're in that territory. That's fortunate to be in the tournament and probably 1 or 2 and done.
Yeah, I think the one I saw, I think it was Joe Lenardi had one. It was earlier this week, and I thought it was a pretty fascinating matchup. I think they had the same scenario seeding-wise, but I think Arkansas was the 10, but it was Memphis and Arkansas.
He did.
But, yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's that's certainly not a situation and not where you expected a team like this to be at. And now having to come back from a loss like that, I mean, look, it is really, I know it's kind of cliche, but it's how you bounce back from a loss like that. Because at this point, it's more important than ever, like we said, based on where you're going in terms of the direction of your NCAA tournament chances and all that. So how they bounce back here against SMU is probably not telling a whole lot of you.
It's everything.
The only positive you can look at this, and again, it's all speculation, but if you go to Ken Palm, he projects that the American Athletic Conference winner will have 5 losses. Now, that's only Memphis' second loss in conference. So if they were to go on a great run, and there are quad 1 wins that are out there, I think there are still 4 or 5 of those opportunities. If they were to win those, what are we looking at as a ceiling here? Is the door still open on being a 5 or a 6? I think 4 is closed.
Yeah, I think the door would still be open in that scenario, and that's when when you put yourself in a position like this, unfortunately, it becomes about what everyone else does too, and how these other teams continue to play. Because if the teams ahead of you, like a Houston, Wichita State, teams like that, start losing games to some of these bottom tier teams or whatever in the American, and that knocks their resume, and it certainly knocks your potential of picking up win of that caliber. And so it is. It's a situation where, certainly that's why we say, teams certainly have to try to control what they can control, because when you put it in a situation where you're depending on, quad 1, quad 2 wins, you just don't know how those teams are going to continue to fare throughout the rest of the season. And you kind of have to hope that they stay where they are at that point.
Tennessee, they have a big one Saturday with a lot of extenuating circumstances now around it after the melee.
Yeah, no, they do. Certainly seems like a little bit better of a setup, I guess, but to what extent still having to go on the road and win at Kansas is not going to be easy. And I'll tell you, this Tennessee team, they have back-to-back wins here. They've won 4 or 5. The problem I still have is if you look at 4 of these 5 wins, I mean, they haven't come against what you would call probably upper-tier SEC teams. They've all come against teams that probably aren't going to make the NCAA tournament. And so at least, going and playing a team like Kansas, it gives us a better gauge of where this team's at. I mean, we know about the injury situation. Monte Turner out for the year. They haven't really been the same team without him. But getting, Santiago Vescovi in there and how these other guys continue to come in and play. I don't know where I'm at on Tennessee, because I don't know how they're going to play against good teams. But once they start this stretch against Kansas, and I think they've got Mississippi State, Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas all coming up within the next 2 weeks. So we'll probably find out more about Rick Barnes' team then.
Blake, do you think the Big 12 did the sport right? Now, I know they threw the kitchen sink at Sylvia DeSouza when they suspended him for 12 games, but the explanation that Bill Self gave the day, or the night, I should say, of the melee was that he was told by the officials that there was a technical on DeSouza for taunting, and the other 4 players that were on the floor were okay, but his entire bench was bad for going out on the floor and therefore would face suspensions. In the past, if you left for a fight and you weren't on the floor, that usually was a game suspension. They gave out none. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, no, it's something like you said. That's what a lot of people have brought up. And if you go back and look at the ruling, we've seen it a lot in those scenarios, because that's the thing. You watch any basketball game in college, and the one thing, if you go back to any of these, fights, and I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure there have been incidents in the past at all places.
Xavier in Cincinnati a few years ago.
Right, there you go. That's the one I was trying to think of. I was like, there's one I know that's happened recently, but that's it. That's the first thing you always see now. If any time there is anything that happens on the floor, is the first instinct for an assistant coach, any coaches on that bench, is to try to look over to their players and say, okay, please do not go out onto the court. Do not, escalate this because you're probably going to get suspended. And that's like you said, in a situation like that where, that probably would have been the expectation based on how everything played out. But then again, I guess when you look at some of these rulings, the consistency of this stuff over the years hasn't been great. And I'm not really sure, what the explanation is really on either side there.
Yeah, it is baffling to me. That is for sure. If you are projecting ahead, and you just talked about the seeding for the U of M, it appears to me, as we head toward really discussing bracketology, that the American will get 3 teams in, and I'm assuming Memphis and Wichita State and Houston will be the 3. Tulsa's certainly trying to make a case for itself, beating the ranked team by 40, but we'll see how all that plays out. And I got a feeling the SEC will get 5 teams in, and I'm including Arkansas. Are those fair assumptions, or am I way off?
No, I think that's about right. And I think, especially like you said, there are probably some things to be determined, on the American, because like you mentioned, look at, where Tulsa's at right now and kind of the point they've gotten to. You look up down the line there at what some of these other teams are doing that we mentioned earlier. It's very interesting to see how that plays out. I'm really fascinated, to see how the conference race unfolds there with those specific teams that we mentioned. And then for the SEC, I think I told you guys probably about a month ago, we were talking, and I said, I feel like the SEC is probably closer to getting 4 teams in than 6. We still thought the 5 was around the right number. But, the further we go along here, I'm starting to think it actually may be closer to 6 now, because we're seeing teams like Alabama and Mississippi State really start to emerge. And I think in that scenario, it's really possible the SEC could get bumped up to 6 here if, teams like that can avoid these bad losses. That's why I know Alabama fans are pretty frustrated with how they played here in Nashville last night against Vanderbilt. They turned it over 25 times, but you can go on the road and get a 15-point win, turn it over 25 times.
Lucky.
You're still feeling pretty good about yourself. So
you got to be. Blake, are you more surprised at how this year is unfolding for Kermit Davis and Ole Miss, or how he kind of was able to put last year together?
I think I'd be more surprised, to be honest with you. Last year, I don't know that this is a huge surprise based on they were one of those teams that I put in that kind of Arkansas scenario for me, in that I didn't really know what to expect from them. Now, obviously, Arkansas has taken it the other way, and we didn't know what we were going to get once Eric Muslim came in. They had no size on the roster. We didn't know what kind of playing style they was going to fit, the way they wanted to play. And then with Ole Miss, they brought back their nucleus, but losing someone like Terrence Davis. And then you've got all these other guys that really haven't played a ton at that level. And, Kermit Davis, I've always said, is great with player development. He'll get guys in there that have said how he wants to play. But I think with this team, they just don't have that same punch that they had with Terrence Davis on the floor. And then getting some of these new guys acclimated, that's been probably a bigger issue than maybe they thought. And so put all that together, I'm not shocked that they're struggling like they are now. They'll end up winning games in the SEC. Probably not going to make the NCAA tournament, of course, at this point. But I don't know that it's a huge surprise that they're struggling a little bit.
I love asking all our basketball guys, and give me one way off Broadway. Give me a team that most of our listeners probably haven't and wouldn't watch, that they should watch play a game over the next week or so, and they'll enjoy watching, because I got mine in mind, and they play tonight and with a chance for an upset.
Let's see. That's a good question. Not long ago, I would have said there's probably a couple teams I would have said Rutgers would be one of them. Now they're top 25. I probably would have said Dayton. Well, as we know, they're probably a top 5 national championship type team. Oh man, that's a good question. I think if you go down to like the mid-major level and you can find their games probably on ESPN Plus, I think East Tennessee State is a team to really watch out for.
That's a good one.
If they're a team, they've already won at LSU. LSU's still undefeated in the SEC. But you look back at Steve Forbes' teams he's had there, he's had a lot of good teams. But I think this could certainly be in the discussion for the best team he's had there. And if they get into the NCAA tournament, they're 17-3 right now. They're a team that's equipped to win multiple games because they have a fearless sort of team. He has one of the most experienced teams in the country. I would watch the Bucks if you get a chance to have a chance to watch them somewhere.
Another team along those lines that I keep hearing about. We talked about them earlier because they were one of the last of the undefeateds, and that's Liberty, and everybody is raving about that team.
Yeah, no, they're another one, and that's honestly one of the ones I was looking at because they have a big game tonight against North Florida. Matthew Driscoll's done a good job there. That's a potential where, and I know people have pointed this out, if Liberty wins that game, they're possible they won't lose another game this season. Of course, the only game they lost, there's the combination between them and East Tennessee State. Liberty's only loss is at LSU. So if you look at it that way, Richie McKay, he has done a fantastic job. They play the Virginia style. I know it's not for everybody, but they play a little more, I don't know, there's differences. You're not going to play exactly the same, but there's differences in how they play. It works for them. They're 19-1, and there's another team that, they beat Mississippi State in the first round last year. If they get back to the tournament, which at this point you would be surprised if they don't, they can certainly win multiple games.
Is that the team you were talking about?
No, mine's Pacific. Tonight they play BYU at home.
Yes.
And then Saturday trying to pull the upset against Gonzaga. And I love Damon Stoudemire. Loved him here with the Grizzlies. Loved him as a player at Arizona and in his NBA career.
What do you mean with the Grizzlies? Don't forget he was the Tiger assistant coach for Josh Pastner. And he was our buddy.
That's it.
We're big Damon Stoudemire fans.
He's done a good job there. We talked to him, I guess probably several weeks ago. We were talking to him for a podcast, and he is. When he first came in there, I think he did it the way that he understood you had to do it. Like he had to go through those couple of years of just getting beaten, and they did. They lost some games, but they got better. And he's gotten some kids in there from the JUCO level that have really helped him. Jaleel Tripp, that's a name to keep an eye on because. He's a senior now, but you want to talk about a score. I think he had 39 against St. Mary's in that, I think it's 4 overtime game they had a couple weeks ago. He's a player, and he keeps scoring for him. So
he's Blake Lovell. You can catch him at Clutch Points app or
Blake.
Blue Ribbon Magazine. We're just getting underway, nitty gritty. I'm pulling for 10 new number ones this year. we could see that. Got to get Gonzaga to lose. That's the big problem.
Yeah, you may get it. Maybe Pacific will be the team to get them. There we go.
There we go.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
You got it.
Talk to him next week. We take a time out.
I like the Baylor story. I like the Scott Drew story.
Scott Drew story is good. Baylor, folks, it just so happens I was sitting in the lobby in the hotel in Tulsa, and a guy wearing a big Baylor thing came in. I thought, hey, you with Baylor? And he goes, no, I'm just a big fan. He was all excited, and he knows this is a real big opportunity.
Good sports year for them.
Drew has done a heck of a job with that program. There is no
women's program.
And I remember there was discussion about him prior to Tubby Smith being hired.
There was discussion here when Cal left, and he was close to getting it. And some people took him apart.
Yeah. Some columnists, if I recall correctly, that took him apart. We take the time out. We are back in just a minute with Crunch Time here on Sports 56 and Wolo and Stats.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
The construction reduction event is on at Wolf Chase Honda. Exciting changes are in the works and inventory must be reduced. Get the best deals right now on all remaining 2019 Hondas while they last. Every new car, every certified, every used car, price to go. Get pre-approved now at wolfchasehonda.com. Wolf Chase Honda is expanding and our prices are dropping. Don't miss these savings. Act now. This huge construction reduction event ends soon.
For the best lineup of quality, fuel-efficient, and fun-to-drive vehicles, get to Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan. Over 1,000 new certified and pre-owned vehicles in one great location. Catch the savings now during our huge model year-end sales event. Score an amazing deal at Wolf Chase Honda and Wolf Chase Nissan and get to the game in style at Germantown Road and Highway 64. Family owned since 1981.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. For more than 26 years, they've supplied all the diesel parts that you need. From simple repairs to complete overhauls, they have it all. Whether it's heavy, medium, light duty, agricultural, marine, or off-road, Mid-South Power is the leading source for all things diesel. Fuel injection, turbochargers, engine parts, alternators, starters, and brakes, they can supply all the parts and services you need. Stop in today at 3250 Mill Branch Road in Memphis or call 901-396-0710.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
And the coach calls timeout.
Wait a minute, you can't call timeout when you have leaks and Mother Nature is roaring through your home.
A technical foul from outer space may be in order.
Don't know about that, but we can measure your roof from outer space at BrianElderRoofing.com.
So if you need repairs or wondering if you think you may have a claim,
call me before you call your insurance company. And we've got 0% interest for 60 months with approved credit. We won't try to sell you a new roof if all you need is a repair.
My friend Chris Price, a longtime donor of the U of M. Call him, 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
God bless America, Penny and Mike, and go Tigers.
And now back to the game.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
We know what you really want is to go to Sunrise on Jefferson and enjoy a nice leisurely breakfast or lunch made fresh and fast. But a lot of the time, you just don't have the time. That's why if you're in a hurry, the way to go is to call ahead to Sunrise and place your order. That way, all you have to do is swing by, go to the carryout entrance, and walk away with all the sweet deliciousness that is Sunrise. Only quick and taken wherever you're in a hurry to be. Everybody's in a rush some of the time, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy Sunrise whenever and wherever.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, did we hit fame? Could we beat you with the deal? We get insane.
Get ready for crunch time to put a bow on this Thursday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats, brought to you in part by Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, the famous 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up for your heater. If you miss a tune-up every time you do, you're talking about 5% of your efficiency. Some of you may be 25 or 30% less efficient than you should be. And you know what? You do that, your heating system's not going to last as long as it could. If you let Conway come in, they're going to put their little slippers on, and they'll come in the inside, and they'll clean your filter, take it out, really, replace your filter. They'll check everything inside and make it all tuned up. Then they go outside, and they clean up that outside unit of all the grit and the grime and the leaves that are in there, and all of a sudden, you're efficient, and you're humming, and you're warm. Please do yourself a favor. It's $57. Call Conway, 384-3511. The best way to get efficient this winter is with Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. It is time for crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working?
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Boop, boop, boop. That's what you're getting.
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Learned today of the very real prospect of no playoffs for the Grizzlies, but the shocking prospect of no NCAA tournament for the Tigers. We figured one of those in the preseason to be very likely, but when the Tigers went to the Bahamas, the chance of no NCAA tournament was unimaginable.
Nil, none, zero, nada, zippo.
I would have bet your house against them.
Of course you would.
I would have bet both your houses.
What'd you learn today, Dave?
I learned today that I think we're getting more lenient with these things, although D'Souza probably deserved the 12-game suspension, maybe 10. Illinois guard Alan Griffin suspended 2 games and reprimanded for stepping on the chest of Purdue guard Shasa Stefanovic.
And both with very sincere apologies, and I am for forgiveness after the punishment's been handed out.
Well, personally, what Griffin did was just ridiculous.
It was.
To step on a guy on the ground.
You know better.
I give Stefanovic a lot of credit for not doing anything.
Yeah, he should have got up with a left hook.
Really. And no one would have blamed him.
Associated Poorman of Timberlake.
Yo.
And it was outlandish when that happened.
Oh, that was.
And that was part of the hate Duke beginning.
Well, sure. And, you know, I don't know how he got away with that. I swear to you.
It's Duke, Dave. That's how.
He always, and the way he treated poor Hurley, oh, my goodness.
Oh, he treated him horribly. Could have done without the punishment handed out in the KUK State melee. Silvio D'Souza, properly punished, more than anyone else. But how much will KU's seed be hurt by this? How good is he anyway? He's averaging 2 points, 2 rebounds. He's averaging the double twos.
What I could have done without was this new story that's out, that Zion's feeling fine after his stellar debut, and this is according to his coach. Well, Zion scored 17 points in 3 minutes and change last night. And it's the number 1 headline right now on ESPN.com. Just wondering how in 17 minutes he's feeling. And the reason I could do without that story is this very simple worry. Is that if he can do that in 3 minutes, get 17 points, and if the Pels make the playoffs, Zion is going to steal away Rookie of the Year. And I keep reading and hearing about, there's no way because Ja's got such a big lead on him. The country wants Zion to win this thing. You better understand that.
You know why, don't you?
Because he's the greatest
Duke.
College basketball player of all time.
Everything goes back to Duke.
It's Duke. I'm telling you, he's going to steal this away if they make the playoffs and he continues to play that way.
You know,
Ja better keep playing. He can't have nights like last night. Now, I will say this. Last night, the guy was sick.
I kind of really like Duke, and I love Mike Krzyzewski. Keeping a close eye tonight, we'll watch the Golf Channel and see the replay and the stroke-by-stroke evaluation and analysis of Tiger Woods with a 69 today. First round of 2020.
69.
Also going to watch a lot of college basketball tonight, including USC late. I don't think
I have the stomach for it.
Tip at when they play ranked Oregon, 12th ranked Oregon.
I don't think I can handle
10 o'clock tip.
I'm
going to have to nap before that.
You're not watching that.
I'm going to try.
I'm not watching anything tonight.
You just shut it all down?
I may watch the golf. I may watch. You got me turned on with the golf. I cannot watch.
Last night's pummeling just shut it down for you?
I cannot watch any more college basketball after what I watched last night.
You'll be revived tomorrow.
I'm too disturbed. I'm too depressed. Tomorrow, Bruce Marshall, Peter Edmiston, Rick Horrow, maybe Andy Schiffman. A little heck yeah. Hell no. We look forward to that for sure. We thank Mark Wise, Elliot Perry, Russell Copeland, Chris Ravy, and Break Level. That'll do it for us. Stage Ride tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. And we put them in nice packaging. We don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together. So the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know: Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 120